Deep beneath the freezing waters of the Baltic Sea lies an object that has puzzled scientists, divers, and mystery lovers for more than a decade. Some say it is just an unusual rock formation. Others believe it could be the remains of something far older, or something no one has ever identified. The truth is still hidden beneath the dark water. The Baltic Sea is one of the coldest and most mysterious seas in the world. Its calm surface hides countless shipwrecks, ancient settlements, and secrets that have remained untouched for centuries. Because of its cold temperatures and low oxygen levels, many objects on the seafloor are preserved unusually well. In the summer of 2011, a Swedish underwater exploration team known as Ocean X was searching the Baltic Sea for valuable shipwrecks. The team had years of experience locating lost cargo and historical wrecks using advanced sonar equipment. During what seemed like another routine expedition, their instruments detected something completely unexpected. About 300 feet below the surface, the sonar screen displayed a strange circular object resting on the seabed. At first, the crew thought it was simply another rock formation. But when they examined the sonar image more closely, they noticed something unusual. The object appeared almost perfectly round, measuring nearly 60 meters across. Even more surprising was a long track stretching behind it, as if the object had moved across the ocean floor before coming to rest. The sonar image quickly spread across the internet. People around the world began comparing it to everything imaginable. Some believed it looked like a crashed flying saucer. Others thought it resembled a giant ancient machine. Online forums exploded with theories, and the mystery became international news almost overnight. The Ocean X team decided they had to investigate. Months later, divers descended into the freezing darkness of the Baltic Sea. Visibility was extremely poor. Sunlight disappeared quickly, and powerful underwater lights could illuminate only a short distance ahead. As they approached the location, an enormous shadow slowly emerged from the darkness. According to the divers, the object appeared unlike anything they had expected. Its surface seemed rough and rocky, yet certain areas looked strangely smooth. Some sections appeared almost geometric, with what looked like straight edges and rounded corners. One diver later described seeing formations that resembled stair-like structures leading upward across part of the object. Others reported what looked like circular openings and unusual patterns carved into the surface. However, underwater exploration is extremely difficult. Poor visibility, strange lighting, and natural rock formations can often create optical illusions. What appears artificial in one angle may look completely natural from another. Still, the mystery only grew. One of the most controversial claims came from members of the exploration team themselves. They reported that electronic equipment behaved strangely whenever they approached the site. Cameras occasionally stopped working. Satellite phones reportedly lost signal. Some navigation equipment appeared to malfunction until the team moved away from the object. These claims attracted enormous attention. Supporters argued that something unusual might be causing electromagnetic interference beneath the sea. Skeptics quickly responded that electronic problems are common during underwater expeditions. Saltwater, weather conditions, technical failures, and equipment limitations can all produce unexpected malfunctions. Without independent verification, the reports remained only personal observations. To answer the growing questions, scientists examined the available evidence. Marine geologists suggested that the object was most likely a natural geological formation created during the last ice age. Thousands of years ago, massive glaciers covered much of northern Europe. As the ice slowly moved, it scraped enormous rocks across the landscape before eventually melting. These movements created unusual formations that can still be found across Scandinavia today. According to this explanation, the Baltic Sea anomaly could simply be one of these rare formations that later became submerged as sea levels changed. Rock samples collected from the site appeared to support this idea. Researchers identified materials such as granite, sandstone, and volcanic rock, minerals commonly found in glacial environments. Some experts pointed out that nature is capable of producing surprisingly symmetrical shapes. Underwater erosion, sediment buildup, and glacial movement can combine to create formations that seem almost man-made. But not everyone was convinced. Critics argued that the sonar images showed details that natural rocks rarely display. They questioned the apparent circular shape, the long track behind the object, and the reported flat surfaces. Some independent researchers even proposed that the object might be the remains of an ancient structure built before rising sea levels flooded the region thousands of years ago. However, no convincing archaeological evidence has ever been discovered to support that theory. Another popular theory suggested military involvement. The Baltic Sea has witnessed centuries of naval activity, including both world wars and the Cold War. Many submarines, mines, aircraft, and secret military operations took place in these waters. Some speculated that the anomaly could actually be the remains of an unknown military object hidden beneath layers of sediment. Again, no evidence has confirmed this idea. As public interest grew, television documentaries, newspapers, and online videos continued presenting dramatic images of the anomaly. Many headlines described it as an underwater UFO. Scientists repeatedly warned that the available evidence did not support such extraordinary conclusions. The original sonar scans, while fascinating, provided only limited detail. Sonar images are created using reflected sound waves, not photographs. Depending on the angle, resolution, and processing methods, sonar can sometimes make ordinary objects appear far more mysterious than they actually are. Several experts argued that people naturally recognize familiar shapes, even where none exist. This psychological effect, known as pareidolia, explains why humans often see faces in clouds or animals in rock formations. Perhaps the Baltic Sea anomaly was another example of the brain trying to create order from incomplete information. Even today, the object remains on the seafloor. No large-scale scientific excavation has been carried out. The harsh underwater conditions, high costs, and uncertain scientific value have limited further investigation. As a result, many questions remain unanswered. Is it simply an unusual rock left behind by glaciers thousands of years ago? Could it be an ancient geological formation unlike any previously studied? Or is there still something hidden beneath layers of sediment that no expedition has fully uncovered? For now, no one can say with certainty. The Baltic Sea continues to guard its secrets beneath hundreds of feet of cold, silent water. And somewhere in that darkness, a perfectly shaped object still waits, challenging everyone who sees it to decide for themselves whether nature alone created one of Earth's greatest underwater mysteries, or whether the real answer has yet to be discovered. Imagine living in a quiet mountain valley where mysterious glowing lights appear without warning. They hover silently above the ground, race across the sky at impossible speeds, and sometimes remain perfectly still for over an hour. Scientists have been studying them for decades, yet no one can fully explain what they are. Welcome to one of Earth's most fascinating unsolved mysteries, the Hessdalen Lights. Hidden deep in central Norway lies the peaceful valley of Hessdalen. Surrounded by forests, rivers, and snow-covered mountains, it is home to only a few hundred residents. During the day, the valley looks like any other remote Scandinavian landscape. But when darkness falls, something extraordinary has been happening here for generations. Local people had occasionally reported strange lights in the sky long before the world knew about Hessdalen. Many dismissed them as distant aircraft, bright stars, or simple imagination. Life in the valley continued as usual. Then, everything changed. In late 1981, residents began seeing glowing lights almost every night. The sightings became impossible to ignore. Bright white, yellow, and sometimes reddish-orange or blue lights suddenly appeared above the valley. Some floated silently over the hills. Others moved slowly through the air before stopping completely, as if suspended by an invisible force. A few accelerated away so quickly that witnesses said they vanished within seconds. The lights appeared without warning. There was no sound. No explosions. No visible source. At the height of the phenomenon, more than 20 sightings were reported in a single week. People became afraid to go outside after dark. Farmers, teachers, police officers, and families all described seeing the same mysterious objects. Unlike many famous mysteries, these witnesses came from different backgrounds and had no connection to one another. News of the strange event spread across Norway. Soon, journalists, photographers, and curious visitors arrived in Hessdalen hoping to witness the lights for themselves. Many did. Photographs captured glowing orbs hanging over the valley at night. Video recordings showed bright objects moving across the landscape. Unlike blurry images often associated with mysterious sightings, some of these photographs appeared remarkably clear. As international attention grew, scientists decided the mystery deserved serious investigation. In 1983, researchers launched what became known as Project Hessdalen. Their goal was simple: observe, measure, collect evidence. Instead of relying only on eyewitness accounts, scientists brought cameras, radar systems, magnetometers, laser equipment, and other scientific instruments into the valley. What they discovered made the mystery even more interesting. Radar occasionally detected objects moving through the sky at speeds that seemed unusually high. Cameras recorded glowing lights that sometimes changed color or brightness without any obvious cause. On several occasions, visual observations matched instrument readings, suggesting that at least some of the lights were real physical phenomena rather than optical illusions. Researchers also noticed something unusual about the behavior of the lights. Some floated slowly just above the ground for several minutes. Others divided into two separate lights before joining together again. Sometimes a bright light remained completely motionless in the same location for nearly an hour. Then, without warning, it disappeared. The mystery had moved beyond local stories. Now there was measurable data. But finding an explanation proved far more difficult. One of the first theories focused on geology. The Hessdalen Valley contains large deposits of minerals, including iron, zinc, and sulfur. Scientists suggested that chemical reactions beneath the ground might release electrically charged gases into the atmosphere. If these gases became energized under the right conditions, they could produce glowing plasma-like lights. This explanation seemed possible because similar natural light phenomena have occasionally been observed near areas with unusual geological activity. However, it did not explain every observation. Some lights appeared to move intelligently, changing direction suddenly or maintaining constant speed against strong winds. Others lasted much longer than scientists expected plasma formations to survive. Another theory involved dust particles. Researchers proposed that tiny particles in the air could become electrically charged, creating floating balls of glowing plasma under rare atmospheric conditions. Laboratory experiments have shown that certain types of plasma can exist briefly under controlled conditions. But recreating the Hessdalen lights in a laboratory has never been fully successful. Another possibility involved piezoelectricity. Certain rocks, especially quartz-rich formations, can generate electrical energy when placed under intense pressure. Some scientists wondered whether movement deep underground might produce enough electricity to create glowing lights above the valley. Again, the idea explained some observations, but not all. Over the years, more unusual reports emerged. Pilots flying over the region occasionally described seeing bright lights that did not appear on their flight instruments. Visitors from around the world traveled to Hessdalen hoping to witness the phenomenon for themselves. Some were lucky. Others spent nights in the valley without seeing anything unusual at all. To continue the investigation, researchers installed an automatic observation station equipped with cameras and scientific instruments. Unlike temporary expeditions, this station could monitor the valley throughout the year. It still operates today. Whenever unusual lights appear, the system records images and environmental data automatically. This makes Hessdalen one of the few unexplained phenomena on Earth that is continuously monitored by scientists. Years of observations have confirmed one important fact. The lights are real. People are not simply imagining them. The real mystery is understanding exactly what causes them. Of course, extraordinary claims have also surrounded the valley. Some visitors believe the lights are connected to extraterrestrial visitors. Others suggest secret military technology or unknown forms of energy hidden beneath the mountains. These ideas remain purely speculative. No scientific evidence has linked the Hessdalen lights to aliens, secret weapons, or supernatural forces. Researchers continue to focus on natural explanations because they are supported by observable evidence, even if none has solved the mystery completely. Interestingly, the number of sightings has decreased since the early 1980s. The lights still appear, but far less frequently than during the peak years when they sometimes occurred several times each week. No one knows why. Perhaps environmental conditions changed. Perhaps the original event was triggered by a rare combination of geological and atmospheric factors that no longer occur as often. Or perhaps the valley is still hiding something scientists have yet to discover. More than 40 years after the first major wave of sightings, the Hessdalen lights remain one of the world's best documented unexplained phenomena. Unlike many mysteries built only on rumors or old legends, this one has been photographed, measured, and investigated by scientists from multiple countries. Yet the final answer remains out of reach. On cold winter nights, when the mountains fall silent and darkness covers the valley, residents still glance toward the sky. Sometimes, a glowing light appears. It drifts quietly over the snow. It pauses in complete silence. Then, just as suddenly as it arrived, it vanishes into the darkness, leaving behind the same question that has puzzled scientists for decades. What is really happening in Hessdalen? No one knows. And perhaps that is exactly what makes this quiet Norwegian valley one of Earth's greatest impossible mysteries. In 1997, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, scientists detected one of the loudest underwater sounds ever recorded. It was so powerful that it could be heard nearly 5,000 kilometers away. No ship was nearby. No earthquake had occurred. No known animal could produce such a sound. The mysterious signal was given a simple name: the bloop. Nearly 3 decades later, it remains one of the ocean's most famous mysteries. The Pacific Ocean is the largest and deepest ocean on Earth. It covers more than 1/3 of the planet's surface, yet scientists estimate that much of its depths remain unexplored. Beneath its dark waters lie underwater volcanoes, deep trenches, strange creatures, and countless secrets that humans have never seen. During the Cold War, the United States built an advanced underwater listening system called the Sound Surveillance System, or SOSUS. Its purpose was to detect submarines moving silently through the ocean. Even after the Cold War ended, parts of this network continued monitoring underwater sounds. Scientists realized these sensors could also help them study earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, whales, and other natural events occurring beneath the sea. In the summer of 1997, researchers working with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, better known as NOAA, noticed something unusual. The sensors had captured an incredibly powerful sound. It came from somewhere in the southern Pacific Ocean. The signal lasted for about 1 minute. Unlike the steady rumble of an earthquake or the sharp explosion of an underwater eruption, this sound slowly increased in frequency before fading away. To the scientists listening through headphones, it produced a strange rising tone. Because of its unique sound, they gave it a simple nickname: the bloop. At first, researchers assumed it might be another natural event. But after careful analysis, problems appeared. The sound was unlike anything they had recorded before. Even more surprising, it had been detected by multiple underwater sensors positioned thousands of kilometers apart. For a sound to travel that far through the ocean, it had to be extraordinarily loud. Scientists calculated that whatever produced it released an enormous amount of energy. The question was simple. What could possibly make a sound that powerful? As news of the bloop spread, speculation exploded across the world. One popular theory focused on marine life. Blue whales are the loudest animals known to exist. Their calls can travel hundreds of kilometers underwater. But even the powerful voice of a blue whale could not fully explain the bloop. The recorded sound was stronger and had a different acoustic pattern. Some researchers wondered whether an unknown species of giant sea creature might still be hiding in the unexplored depths of the Pacific. After all, humans have explored only a small fraction of the deep ocean. Every year, scientists continue discovering new marine species, many of which look unlike anything previously known. Could there be an enormous animal living far below the surface? The idea fascinated the public. Writers, filmmakers, and internet forums quickly connected the bloop to ancient sea monster legends. Some even mentioned the fictional creature Cthulhu, created by horror author H.P. Lovecraft. Although entertaining, these stories had no scientific evidence behind them. Marine biologists pointed out a major problem. An animal capable of producing such a powerful sound would likely need to be far larger than any known whale. Finding enough food to support such an enormous creature would be extremely difficult. More importantly, no physical evidence, such as sightings, remains, or biological samples, has ever suggested that such an animal exists. Another possibility involved underwater volcanoes. The Pacific Ocean contains thousands of volcanic mountains and active geological zones. Volcanic eruptions beneath the sea can generate loud noises that travel great distances. However, the acoustic pattern of the bloop did not match the signals usually produced by underwater volcanic activity. Scientists also considered earthquakes. Large underwater earthquakes release tremendous energy and produce distinctive sound waves. But seismic monitoring stations around the world recorded no earthquake matching the time and location of the bloop. That explanation was ruled out. The mystery remained. Years passed. Researchers continued studying underwater sounds collected from oceans around the globe. Then, an interesting pattern began to emerge. Scientists working in Antarctica noticed that massive icebergs sometimes produced unusual sounds as they cracked apart or scraped against the seafloor. When enormous pieces of ice fractured under pressure, they released incredible amounts of energy. Some of these sounds shared surprising similarities with the bloop. Further analysis suggested that the mysterious signal may have originated from a giant iceberg breaking apart somewhere near Antarctica. The Southern Ocean contains some of the world's largest floating icebergs. When these frozen giants crack, collide, or grind against underwater surfaces, they can create powerful low-frequency sounds capable of traveling thousands of kilometers through seawater. In 2012, NOAA announced that this explanation best matched the available evidence. According to researchers, the bloop was most likely caused by an icequake, a massive fracture within Antarctic ice. For many scientists, the mystery was essentially solved. Yet not everyone agreed. Some researchers noted that the exact source of the sound had never been directly observed. The explanation fit the available data well, but absolute proof remained impossible because no one witnessed the event itself. Others pointed out that the ocean still contained many unexplored regions. New underwater sounds continue to be recorded every year. Some are identified quickly. Others remain unexplained. The bloop became famous not because it proved the existence of sea monsters or alien life, but because it reminded the world how little we truly know about Earth's oceans. More than 80% of the deep ocean remains largely unmapped and unexplored. Countless species have yet to be discovered. Entire underwater ecosystems continue to surprise scientists. Every expedition reveals something unexpected. The ocean is still one of Earth's final frontiers. Today, the bloop remains one of the most recognizable mysterious sounds ever recorded beneath the sea. Its original recording can still be heard online. For some listeners, it sounds eerie. For others, it sounds almost alive. Science currently offers a strong explanation involving Antarctic ice. But the ocean has a long history of challenging human certainty. Perhaps the bloop was nothing more than nature displaying its incredible power. Or perhaps it was a reminder that beneath the endless waves lies a world we have barely begun to understand. Far below the surface, where sunlight never reaches, something made one of the loudest sounds ever heard on Earth. And even now, as scientists continue listening to the deep, they know one thing for certain. The next impossible mystery may already be echoing through the darkness of the ocean, waiting to be heard. Imagine standing beside a beautiful waterfall where a river suddenly splits into two. One side continues its journey like any normal river. The other disappears into a deep hole in the rock, and never seems to come back. For decades, scientists, explorers, and visitors all asked the same chilling question: where does the water go? Deep within northern Minnesota, inside Judge C. R. Magny State Park, flows the Brule River, a peaceful waterway surrounded by thick forests, towering cliffs, and ancient volcanic rock. Every year, thousands of hikers visit this remote location to witness one of America's strangest natural wonders. It is known as the Devil's Kettle. At first glance, the waterfall appears ordinary. The Brule River rushes through a narrow gorge before reaching a rocky ledge. There, something extraordinary happens. The river splits into two separate streams. The stream on the left crashes down the waterfall and continues downstream exactly as expected. But the stream on the right flows directly into a perfectly round hole carved into the rock. Then, it disappears. No one standing above can see where the water goes. There is no visible underground tunnel. No second waterfall. No river emerging from the mountainside. The water simply vanishes into darkness. For generations, local residents created stories to explain the mystery. Some believed the hole connected to hidden caves stretching for miles beneath the earth. Others imagined vast underground lakes that no human had ever discovered. A few legends even claimed the opening reached deep into the center of the earth. The mysterious appearance earned the strange name: the Devil's Kettle. Long before scientists became interested, curious visitors began conducting their own experiments. They threw sticks into the hole, hoping they would appear somewhere farther downstream. Nothing was ever found. People tossed leaves into the opening. They never returned. Even ping-pong balls were dropped into the kettle. Despite careful searches along the river, none were recovered. These simple experiments only deepened the mystery. Where was everything going? As the years passed, the Devil's Kettle became one of Minnesota's greatest unsolved natural mysteries. Newspapers published articles asking whether the water entered secret underground rivers. Television programs featured dramatic recreations. Mystery lovers traveled from around the world hoping someone would finally solve the puzzle. Professional geologists also became fascinated. One theory suggested that the water traveled through underground lava tubes created millions of years ago when volcanic activity shaped the region. Minnesota's North Shore contains ancient volcanic rock formed over 1 billion years ago. Perhaps hidden tunnels still existed beneath the surface. It sounded reasonable. But there was a problem. Extensive geological surveys failed to locate any tunnel large enough to carry such an enormous amount of water. Another theory proposed that the disappearing stream eventually joined the Brule River farther downstream through underground cracks. Again, no one could prove it. Researchers attempted to trace the water using environmentally safe dyes. If the dye emerged downstream, it would reveal the hidden path. However, the results were disappointing. The dye either became too diluted to detect or failed to produce clear evidence. The mystery remained. Scientists then looked at the problem differently. Instead of searching for where the water went, they asked a simpler question. How much water actually disappeared? Hydrologists carefully measured the amount of water flowing above the split. Next, they measured the water flowing farther downstream after both branches should have reunited. If a large volume of water truly vanished underground forever, the downstream flow should be significantly smaller. For many years, accurate measurements were difficult. Changing rainfall, snowmelt, and seasonal conditions constantly affected the river. The results remained uncertain. Then, in 2017, researchers returned with modern equipment. Using precise flow measurements, they compared the amount of water entering the split with the amount continuing below the waterfall. The numbers were remarkably close. Almost all of the missing water was still present downstream. This discovery changed everything. Scientists concluded that the water almost certainly was not disappearing into some vast underground chamber. Instead, it was most likely rejoining the river beneath piles of broken rock located just below the waterfall. The opening, called the Devil's Kettle, probably connects to narrow channels hidden beneath the collapsed rocks. From above, those channels are completely invisible. The water enters the hole, travels through concealed passages, and quietly returns to the river only a short distance away. No mysterious underground ocean. No endless tunnel. No gateway to the center of the earth. Just an unusual geological formation. For many scientists, the case was finally solved. Yet not everyone accepted the conclusion. Some visitors pointed out that no one has ever directly observed the complete underground route. No diver has followed the water through the hidden passages. The exact shape of the channels beneath the rocks remains unknown. The measurements strongly support the explanation. But seeing the hidden path with human eyes has never been possible. Even today, standing beside the waterfall feels strangely unsettling. The roaring sound fills the air. White water crashes against black volcanic rock. One stream continues naturally. The other vanishes into a perfectly round hole that seems to swallow everything placed inside it. Your eyes tell you the water has disappeared. Your mind struggles to accept that it simply slips beneath the rocks and returns unnoticed. Nature has created an illusion so convincing that it puzzled scientists for decades. The Devil's Kettle reminds us that not every mystery hides something supernatural. Sometimes the greatest mysteries exist because nature is far more complex than it first appears. Even with modern technology, Earth's landscapes continue to surprise us. There are caves we have never entered. Underground rivers we have never mapped. Rock formations that challenge everything we expect. The Devil's Kettle may no longer be considered an unsolved mystery by most geologists. But for anyone standing beside that dark opening, watching half a river disappear into complete darkness, it still feels impossible. The water falls. The sound echoes through the forest. Then, without a trace, an entire stream simply vanishes. And for just a moment, you cannot help but wonder if the river is hiding one last secret beneath the rocks. In the middle of one of the world's largest deserts lies a gigantic circle so enormous that astronauts can see it from space. It looks almost too perfect to be natural. Some believe it is the remains of a lost civilization. Others think it inspired one of history's greatest legends. But after decades of research, no one can fully explain why it exists in such a perfect shape. This is the mystery of the Eye of the Sahara. Far from modern cities, deep within the endless sands of Mauritania in northwest Africa, lies one of Earth's most astonishing geological formations. Known as the Rikhat structure, it stretches nearly 40 kilometers, or about 25 miles, across. From the ground, it is difficult to understand what it truly looks like. Standing inside it, you would see only rocky hills and desert plains. But from high above, the landscape transforms into something extraordinary. A series of giant circular rings spread outward from a central point, creating an enormous pattern that resembles a human eye staring into space. For this reason, it is often called the Eye of the Sahara. Today, astronauts aboard the International Space Station frequently use it as a landmark while passing over Africa. Its size is so immense that it can easily be recognized from orbit. Ironically, humans only realized how unusual the Rikhat structure looked after the space age began. Before satellites and space missions, no one had ever seen its complete shape. For centuries, travelers crossed the surrounding desert without understanding they were walking across one of the most remarkable geological formations on Earth. When the first aerial photographs appeared in the 20th century, scientists were stunned. The nearly perfect rings raised an obvious question. How could nature create something that looked so precisely designed? Early theories suggested that the Rick-Hat structure was the crater left behind by a massive meteorite. It seemed like a reasonable explanation. Meteor impacts often create circular formations. A giant space rock striking the Earth millions of years ago could easily leave a scar of this size. Scientists carefully studied the rocks. If a meteor had caused the structure, the surrounding minerals should show signs of an enormous impact, such as shocked quartz or melted rock created by extreme heat. But those signs were missing. There was no evidence of a giant collision. The meteor theory slowly lost support. Researchers then proposed another explanation. Perhaps a powerful volcanic eruption had created the circular rings. Deep underground, rising magma can push layers of rock upward into dome-like shapes. Over millions of years, wind and rain erode the softer rock, exposing circular patterns on the surface. This theory matched some observations. However, the Rick-Hat structure lacked many of the volcanic features scientists expected to find. Again, the mystery continued. Eventually, geologists developed a more detailed explanation. They believe the Rick-Hat structure began forming roughly 100 million years ago. According to this theory, molten rock deep beneath the Earth's surface pushed upward but never actually erupted. Instead, it slowly lifted the surrounding rock layers into a broad dome. For millions of years, wind, occasional rainfall, and constant erosion wore away the softer rock while leaving harder layers behind. As different rock types eroded at different speeds, they naturally formed the giant concentric rings visible today. In other words, the circles were not built. They were revealed. This explanation is accepted by most geologists. Yet even with this understanding, many people remain fascinated by the structure's incredible symmetry. Nature rarely creates formations that appear so perfectly organized. The Rick-Hat structure almost looks engineered. That appearance has inspired countless alternative theories. Perhaps the most famous involves the legendary city of Atlantis. More than 2,000 years ago, the ancient Greek philosopher Plato described a powerful civilization that disappeared beneath the sea. In his writings, Atlantis featured a city designed with multiple circular rings surrounding its center. When satellite images of the Rick-Hat structure became widely available, some researchers noticed similarities between Plato's description and the giant rings in the Sahara. Books, documentaries, and online videos quickly claimed that the Eye of the Sahara might actually be the lost location of Atlantis. The idea captured the public's imagination. Supporters pointed to the circular design, the enormous size, the surrounding mountains, even nearby salt deposits, suggesting the region may once have contained large bodies of water. But professional archaeologists remain unconvinced. No evidence of an advanced lost civilization has been discovered at the site. No ancient buildings. No roads. No massive walls. No artifacts matching Plato's description. While the Atlantis theory remains popular online, it has not been supported by archaeological evidence. Still, the mystery does not end there. Scientists studying the Rick-Hat structure continue discovering fascinating details about its geology. The rings expose rock layers of different ages, giving researchers a rare opportunity to study Earth's ancient history. Some rocks found here are hundreds of millions of years old. The area also contains unusual minerals that provide clues about the powerful geological forces that shaped Northwest Africa long before humans existed. Despite decades of research, questions remain. Why is the structure so remarkably circular? Why did erosion expose the rings so evenly? Could similar formations exist beneath other deserts, still hidden beneath sand? No one knows. The Rikat structure also reminds us how perspective changes everything. For thousands of years, people crossed this desert without recognizing anything extraordinary. Only after humans reached space did the true shape become visible. Sometimes the greatest mysteries are not hidden underground. Sometimes they are simply too large for us to recognize. Today, tourists, scientists, photographers, and explorers continue visiting the Eye of the Sahara. From the ground, it feels like a quiet desert of stone and sand. But from above, it becomes one of the most breathtaking natural patterns on Earth. Its giant rings stretch across the landscape with astonishing precision, inviting endless questions. Was it shaped entirely by nature? Could ancient legends have been inspired by this incredible place? Or are there still secrets buried beneath the desert floor that future discoveries will reveal? For now, the Rikat structure remains one of Earth's greatest geological wonders. A formation so vast, so symmetrical, and so mysterious, that even after millions of years, it continues to make people stop, look down from space, and wonder whether they are staring at nature's masterpiece, or a forgotten chapter of Earth's history. Just off the coast of Japan, beneath crystal clear blue water, lies a massive stone structure unlike anything else on Earth. It has enormous flat terraces, sharp right angles, giant staircases, and walls that seem almost impossible to believe were created by nature alone. Some call it Japan's Atlantis. Others insist it is nothing more than an unusual rock formation. Decades after its discovery, the debate remains as intense as ever. At the western edge of Japan's Ryukyu Islands lies the small island of Yonaguni. It is famous for strong ocean currents, colorful coral reefs, and some of the country's best diving locations. Every year, divers travel here hoping to encounter schools of tropical fish and the island's legendary hammerhead sharks. But hidden beneath these waters is something far more mysterious. A gigantic underwater formation that has puzzled scientists for nearly 40 years. The story began in 1986. Local dive instructor Kihachiro Aratake was searching for new diving spots around Yonaguni when he noticed something extraordinary beneath the waves. Instead of natural coral reefs, he found enormous stone platforms rising from the ocean floor. As he explored further, more strange features appeared. Wide flat terraces, straight walls, large stone steps, sharp corners, deep channels that looked almost carved. The formation stretched across a huge area, standing nearly 25 meters tall and measuring roughly 150 meters in length. Aratake believed he had discovered something incredible. News spread quickly through Japan. Soon, divers from around the world arrived to see the mysterious monument for themselves. Photographs and underwater videos only fueled the growing fascination. Unlike many underwater rock formations, the Yonaguni monument appeared surprisingly geometric. Some sections resembled giant staircases. Others looked like roads leading across enormous platforms. One feature even appeared to resemble a massive archway. To many visitors, it looked less like nature, and more like the ruins of an ancient city. The possibility was breathtaking. If the structure had truly been built by humans, it would have to be incredibly old. At the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 years ago, sea levels were much lower than they are today. Large areas that now lie underwater were once dry land. Some researchers wondered whether an unknown civilization might have built the monument before rising oceans flooded the region. Among the strongest supporters of this idea was Japanese marine geologist Professor Masaaki Kimura. After conducting numerous dives at the site, Kimura argued that at least part of the formation showed signs of human modification. He pointed to what appeared to be large stone staircases, flat plazas, terraces arranged in levels, straight edges that extended for remarkable distances, possible carved symbols on certain rock surfaces. Kimura even suggested that ancient people may have reshaped a natural rock formation into a ceremonial or religious complex. His research attracted worldwide attention. Television documentaries featured dramatic underwater footage. Many newspapers referred to the site as Japan's Atlantis. Some writers connected it to legends of lost civilizations that disappeared beneath the sea thousands of years ago. But not everyone agreed. Many geologists offered a far simpler explanation. They argued that the monument is entirely natural. The rocks around Yonaguni are made primarily of sandstone and mudstone deposited millions of years ago. These rock layers naturally contain vertical and horizontal fractures. Over long periods, powerful ocean currents, earthquakes, and erosion can break the stone along these natural lines. The result is something surprising. Large blocks with flat surfaces, straight edges, right-angle corners, even formations that resemble staircases. According to these scientists, the monument only appears artificial because the rock naturally fractures into geometric shapes. Similar formations can be found in other parts of the world without any human involvement. They also questioned the supposed carvings. Underwater erosion, marine organisms, and centuries of wave action can create grooves and markings that resemble human artwork. Without clear evidence of tools, construction methods, or cultural artifacts, they argued there was no reason to conclude humans built the structure. The debate intensified. Divers continued discovering additional features around the monument. Some believed they had found stone pillars. Others claimed to see platforms connected by pathways. One unusual rock became known as the turtle, because of its resemblance to the giant sea animal. Another appeared to resemble a human face when viewed from certain angles. Supporters argued these discoveries strengthened the case for an ancient civilization. Skeptics responded that humans naturally recognize familiar shapes in random patterns, a psychological phenomenon known as pareidolia. The same reason people see faces in clouds or animals in mountain cliffs. Then came another important question. If an advanced civilization had built the Yonaguni monument, where were the artifacts? Archaeologists searched for evidence. No pottery. No metal tools. No human bones. No inscriptions. No buildings connected to the monument. Nothing that clearly demonstrated people had lived or worked there. Without such evidence, most archaeologists remained unconvinced. Even Professor Kimura acknowledged that more research was necessary. Today, the majority of geologists believe the Yonaguni monument is primarily a natural geological formation shaped by Earth's forces over millions of years. However, some researchers still argue that certain sections appear too regular to dismiss entirely. They suggest humans may have altered parts of an already existing rock formation long ago. At present, there is no scientific consensus supporting that idea. The mystery remains open. Modern technology has mapped much of the monument in remarkable detail. High-resolution underwater photography, sonar scanning, and 3D imaging continue revealing its enormous size and complex design. Yet despite all these advances, one simple question still has no universally accepted answer. Was it created entirely by nature? Or did ancient humans leave behind something extraordinary beneath the sea? Every year, experienced divers descend into the clear blue waters surrounding Yonaguni. As sunlight filters through the ocean above, giant stone terraces slowly emerge from the darkness. Swimming across the massive platforms feels almost like exploring the ruins of a forgotten civilization. The silence underwater makes the experience even more surreal. No voices. No wind. Only the sound of your own breathing echoing through the mask. Whether the monument is a masterpiece of natural geology or the last trace of a civilization lost to rising seas, it remains one of Earth's most astonishing underwater mysteries. Perhaps one day, future discoveries will finally settle the debate. Or perhaps the ocean, which has guarded its secrets for thousands of years, we'll continue keeping the truth hidden beneath the waves. Because sometimes, the greatest mysteries are not the ones we cannot see. They are the ones lying in plain sight, waiting for someone to prove what they truly are. Scattered across the hills of Laos are thousands of giant stone jars. Some weigh more than 10 tons. No one knows exactly who carved them, how they were transported, or why they were placed across such a vast landscape. They have stood in silence for over 2,000 years, surviving wars, civilizations, and time itself. Even today, the Plain of Jars remains one of the world's greatest archaeological mysteries. In the remote highlands of northern Laos lies one of the most unusual archaeological sites on Earth. Known as the Plain of Jars, the region contains more than 2,000 massive stone jars, spread across dozens of locations covering hundreds of square kilometers. Some jars are just over a meter tall. Others stand nearly 3 meters high. The largest weigh more than 10 tons. What makes the discovery even more astonishing is their location. Many sit on isolated hills, mountain slopes, and rocky plateaus far from ancient quarries. There are no obvious roads leading to them, no written records describing their construction, and no surviving civilization that clearly claims them. For centuries, they have remained exactly where they were placed. Silent. Motionless. Waiting for someone to explain their purpose. The local people have their own legends. According to one ancient story, a race of giants once lived in these mountains. After winning a great battle, the victorious king ordered enormous stone jars to be carved so they could be filled with rice wine for a grand celebration. It is a fascinating tale. But like many legends, there is no evidence proving it ever happened. The outside world first learned about the jars in the late 19th century. In 1893, French explorer Auguste Pavie documented several of the mysterious sites while traveling through Laos, then part of French Indochina. Archaeologists were immediately intrigued. The jars looked unlike anything they had seen elsewhere in Southeast Asia. Most were carved from solid sandstone. Others were made from granite, limestone, or conglomerate rock. Many had thick walls and perfectly hollow interiors. Some were roughly shaped. Others displayed remarkable craftsmanship. The obvious question soon followed. How had ancient people moved these enormous stones? Researchers located several ancient quarries where unfinished jars still remain. These quarries proved that the jars were carved elsewhere before being transported across difficult mountain terrain. But no one knows exactly how. Some of the stones traveled several kilometers from their source. Without modern machinery, moving objects weighing 10 tons or more would have required extraordinary planning, manpower, and engineering. Yet there are no surviving records explaining the process. The mystery deepened as archaeologists searched for clues. At first, several theories emerged. One suggested the jars were used to collect rainwater for travelers crossing the mountains. Another proposed they stored food, grain, or valuable goods. Some even believed they served as giant fermentation containers for making rice wine. Each idea seemed possible. But none explained all of the evidence. The breakthrough came decades later. During excavations around several jar sites, archaeologists discovered human remains, burial goods, pottery fragments, beads, iron tools, and ancient ornaments. These discoveries changed the direction of the investigation. Researchers now believe the Plain of Jars was connected to complex burial rituals practiced more than 2,000 years ago, during the Iron Age. One leading theory suggests that the jars were used during what archaeologists call secondary burial. According to this idea, the dead were first placed inside the giant jars, allowing nature to decompose the body over time. Later, the bones were carefully collected and buried nearby along with personal belongings and ceremonial objects. This practice was known in several ancient cultures across Asia. Although this explanation fits much of the archaeological evidence, it still leaves important questions unanswered. Why build thousands of such enormous stone containers? Why spread them across so many different locations? And why invest such incredible effort transporting them across rugged mountains? The mystery became even more complicated during the 20th century. Between the 1960s and early 1970s, Laos became heavily affected by conflict during the Vietnam War. Large areas surrounding the Plain of Jars were bombed extensively. Millions of unexploded bombs and cluster munitions remained hidden beneath the ground long after the fighting ended. For decades, this dangerous legacy prevented archaeologists from safely exploring many jar sites. Entire regions became inaccessible. Only after years of careful bomb-clearing operations could researchers begin studying the area again. Even today, some parts of the Plain of Jars remain unsafe to enter. Despite these challenges, archaeological work has continued. Modern excavations have uncovered additional burial sites beneath and around many of the jars. Radiocarbon dating indicates that the surrounding burials generally date to between 500 BC and AD 500. Interestingly, some of the stone jars themselves may be even older than the graves found beside them. This suggests that jars could have been reused by multiple generations over several centuries. Scientists have also studied the stones themselves. Chemical analysis has linked many jars to nearby quarries, confirming they were carved from local rock before transport. However, the exact transportation methods remain unknown. Some researchers believe wooden sledges and rolling logs were used. Others suggest ropes, earthen ramps, and large teams of workers. Without written records, no one can be certain. Another puzzle involves the lids. Only a handful of stone discs have ever been found near the jars. Some archaeologists think these served as lids. Others argue the discs were actually grave markers unrelated to the jars themselves. The original appearance of the jars therefore remains uncertain. Did every jar once have a cover? Or were most left open to the sky? No one knows. Today, the Plain of Jars is recognized as one of Southeast Asia's most important archaeological landscapes. Visitors walking among the giant stone containers often describe a strange feeling. The jars stand alone across grassy hills. Some lean slightly with age. Others remain perfectly upright after more than 2 millennia. There are no grand temples. No towering palaces. No carved statues explaining who built them. Only silent stone vessels watching over the landscape. Every jar raises another question. Who carved it? Who carried it? Who placed it here? And why? Although archaeology has revealed important clues, the complete story remains hidden beneath layers of history. Perhaps future discoveries will finally uncover the identity of the people who created this remarkable landscape. Or perhaps the builders intended their work to remain mysterious forever. For now, thousands of giant stone jars continue standing across the mountains of Laos. Enduring storms. Surviving wars. And keeping one of Earth's oldest secrets locked safely inside history. Imagine draining a small village pond, only to discover that beneath the water lies an enormous underground chamber. Then imagine finding not one cave, but dozens. Each one is carved with incredible precision, supported by massive stone pillars, and covered in perfectly uniform chisel marks. No one knows who built them, why they were created, or why history never mentioned them. This is the mystery of the Longyou Caves. Hidden beneath the countryside of Zhejiang Province, China, lies one of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries of the modern era. Known as the Longyou Caves, these vast underground chambers remained completely hidden for centuries. Unlike famous ruins that slowly emerged through archaeological excavations, the Longyou Caves were discovered almost by accident. The story began in 1992. In the small village of Shiryan Baitsuan, local residents had long believed that several nearby ponds were bottomless. For generations, the dark pools were surrounded by legends. Some said they connected to underground rivers. Others believed they had no bottom at all. No one dared to investigate seriously. One day, a local woman named Wu Anai became curious. She refused to believe the stories. Determined to uncover the truth, she hired workers to pump the water out of one of the ponds. The task took several days. As the water level slowly dropped, something unbelievable appeared beneath the surface. Instead of a natural pond, there was an enormous man-made chamber carved directly into solid rock. The villagers were stunned. News spread rapidly. Soon, archaeologists and government officials arrived to investigate. As researchers explored the area, the surprise only grew. The first chamber was not unique. Nearby ponds concealed many more. Eventually, scientists identified 24 massive underground caves, each carved into sandstone with extraordinary precision. Every chamber was enormous. Some measured nearly 30 meters high, covering floor areas of more than 1,000 square meters. Together, the caves contained an estimated 1 million cubic meters of excavated stone. The scale was almost impossible to comprehend. Removing that much rock would have required countless workers, years of labor, and remarkable engineering skills. Yet there was one extraordinary problem. No historical records mentioned their construction. China possesses one of the world's richest written histories. Ancient dynasties carefully documented major engineering projects, royal tombs, canals, temples, and cities. But nowhere did historians describe the creation of the Longyu caves. It was as though an enormous civilization had completed one of the greatest construction projects in history. And then erased every trace of it. Inside the caves, the mystery became even more fascinating. Nearly every wall, ceiling, and pillar was covered with parallel chisel marks. The grooves ran in remarkably consistent patterns. Each mark appeared carefully carved by hand. The precision was astonishing. Even more remarkable, the patterns were almost identical throughout every cave. Researchers estimated that producing such detailed carvings across all 24 chambers would have required millions upon millions of individual hammer and chisel strikes. Why would builders spend so much time decorating surfaces that no one was ever meant to see? No one had an answer. The caves also displayed impressive engineering. Massive stone pillars had been left standing to support the ceilings. These supports were carefully positioned, allowing the chambers to remain stable for thousands of years. Despite earthquakes, floods, and changing weather conditions, the caves have survived with surprisingly little structural damage. Some scientists believe they were created around 2,000 years ago, during the Qin or Han dynasty. This estimate is based on pottery fragments and other archaeological evidence found nearby. If correct, the caves were built at a time when China was developing some of the ancient world's most ambitious engineering projects. Still, their purpose remains uncertain. One theory suggests the caves were enormous underground quarries. Workers may have removed high-quality sandstone for nearby construction projects. This explanation accounts for the vast amount of excavated rock. However, it raises another question. If the goal was simply to extract stone, why leave behind beautifully symmetrical chambers instead of removing everything? And why carve decorative patterns across every surface? Another theory proposes the caves served as hidden storage facilities. Their cool, stable temperatures would have protected food, weapons, or valuable supplies. But again, no evidence of large-scale storage has been discovered. Others suggest they functioned as ceremonial sites or places of worship. Their enormous halls certainly create an atmosphere of awe. Yet archaeologists have found no altars, statues, inscriptions, or religious artifacts confirming this idea. Military historians have also proposed that the caves could have provided shelter during times of war. The underground chambers are naturally protected and difficult to detect from above. Still, no defensive structures or military equipment have been uncovered. Every theory explains part of the mystery. None explains everything. Perhaps the most puzzling question concerns the missing stone. Excavating over 1 million cubic meters of rock would have produced an enormous amount of material. Where did it all go? There are no giant piles of discarded sandstone nearby. No records describe transporting it elsewhere. The stone simply vanished from history. Some researchers believe it was reused in ancient buildings throughout the region. If so, those structures have never been conclusively identified. As exploration continued, archaeologists made another surprising observation. Although each cave differs slightly in shape, all share remarkably similar construction methods. The same style of pillars. The same angled walls. The same decorative chisel patterns. This suggests careful planning rather than random excavation. Whoever built the Long U caves worked according to a consistent architectural design. Modern engineers remain impressed by the builder's skill. Creating such large underground spaces without causing collapses would have required advanced knowledge of rock stability and structural support. Yet the people responsible left behind no written instructions, no signatures, and no explanation of their achievement. Today, several of the caves are open to visitors. Walking inside them feels almost unreal. Soft lights illuminate towering stone walls. Massive pillars disappear into the darkness above. Every surface bears the same mysterious carved lines. The air is cool and silent. Each footstep echoes through chambers untouched for centuries. Standing there, it is impossible not to ask the same questions that have puzzled archaeologists since 1992. Who built this place? Why was it hidden beneath ponds? Why does history say nothing about it? And what purpose justified one of the largest underground construction projects of the ancient world? Perhaps future excavations will uncover forgotten records or hidden artifacts. Or perhaps the answers have already been lost forever. For now, the Long U caves remain one of Earth's greatest archaeological mysteries. A masterpiece of ancient engineering. Hidden beneath quiet village ponds. Waiting thousands of years for someone to discover what history forgot. In one of the hottest places on Earth, enormous rocks weighing hundreds of kilograms have been found moving across a dry lakebed, completely on their own. They leave long trails behind them, as if an invisible force slowly dragged them across the desert. For decades, no one ever witnessed the movement. The rocks moved, but only when no one was watching. Deep inside Death Valley National Park in California lies one of the strangest landscapes on Earth. The area is known as Racetrack Playa, a vast, dry lakebed stretching across the desert. For most of the year, its surface is flat, cracked, and lifeless. There are no trees. No flowing rivers. Very little rain. During summer, temperatures often climb above 50 degrees Celsius, making it one of the hottest places on the planet. At first glance, the playa seems completely ordinary. But scattered across its surface are large rocks, some weighing more than 300 kilograms. Behind many of these stones are long, perfectly visible tracks stretching for meters, sometimes even hundreds of meters. The marks twist, turn sharply, cross one another. Some rocks appear to have changed direction several times during a single journey. Others seem to travel in perfectly straight lines. The strange part? No one had ever actually seen the rocks move. For decades, visitors arrived to find fresh trails that had appeared since the previous season. The rocks had clearly changed position. Yet no eyewitness could explain how. The mystery first attracted scientific attention in the early 20th century. Geologists visiting Racetrack Playa carefully mapped the stones and measured their positions. When they returned months, or even years, later, some rocks had moved. Others remained exactly where they had been. There was no obvious pattern. At first, people suggested simple explanations. Perhaps strong winds pushed the rocks across the flat ground. But this idea quickly faced problems. Many of the stones were incredibly heavy. Some weighed several hundred kilograms. The strongest desert winds should not have been able to move them across dry ground without leaving signs of rolling or tumbling. Yet the rocks remained upright. Their trails showed smooth sliding motion rather than bouncing or rolling. Another theory blamed flash floods. Maybe rushing water carried the rocks across the playa. But floodwater powerful enough to move such massive stones would likely erase the delicate trails left behind. Instead, the tracks remained sharply defined. Some scientists wondered whether earthquakes caused the movement. Small vibrations might reduce friction between the rocks and the ground. Again, there was little evidence supporting this explanation. The mystery continued. As years passed, racetrack playa became famous around the world. Visitors called them sailing stones. Photographers captured breathtaking images of rocks sitting alone on the cracked desert floor with long trails disappearing into the distance. Some people imagined supernatural forces. Others suggested magnetic fields or even extraterrestrial activity. Without direct observation, every theory remained speculation. Then, in the early 2000s, researchers decided to solve the mystery once and for all. A team of scientists installed GPS tracking devices on several rocks. They also placed weather stations and time-lapse cameras around the playa. The project required enormous patience. Months passed. Nothing happened. The rocks remained perfectly still. Years went by. Still nothing. Then, during the winter of 2013, nature finally revealed its secret. After an unusually cold night, a thin layer of water collected across parts of the playa. The shallow water froze into sheets of ice only a few millimeters thick. As morning sunlight warmed the desert, the ice began breaking apart into large floating panels. A gentle breeze started blowing across the lakebed. The moving ice slowly pushed against the rocks. At the same time, the thin layer of water beneath them greatly reduced friction. To the scientists' amazement, the rocks began to move. Not quickly. Not dramatically. They slid silently across the wet surface at only a few centimeters per second. The movement was so slow that someone standing nearby might not even notice it. Yet over several minutes, the rocks traveled several meters. The GPS equipment recorded every movement. For the first time in history, scientists had directly observed the sailing stones in motion. The mystery that had lasted for decades finally had a convincing explanation. The movement required an extremely rare combination of conditions. First, enough rain had to fall to create a shallow layer of water. Next, temperatures needed to drop below freezing overnight, forming thin sheets of ice. Finally, morning sunlight had to break the ice into floating panels while light winds gently pushed everything across the playa. If any one of these conditions failed to occur, the rocks would remain completely motionless. Because this combination is so uncommon, years can pass between movement events. That explains why generations of visitors never witnessed the phenomenon. The rocks simply moved when almost no one was there. Even after the explanation became widely accepted, racetrack playa continued to amaze scientists. No two rocks behave exactly the same way. Some travel only a few meters. Others move hundreds of meters over several years. Some change direction suddenly. Others remain motionless for decades before unexpectedly beginning another journey. Researchers believe slight differences in shape, weight, ice thickness, wind direction, and water depth all influence how each stone moves. Nature performs an incredibly delicate balancing act. The result looks almost magical. Today, the sailing stones are considered one of the world's best examples of how patient scientific observation can solve a long-standing mystery. No hidden engines. No invisible forces. No supernatural powers. Just ice, water, wind, and perfect timing. Yet standing alone on racetrack playa still feels surreal. The desert is silent. The air shimmers with heat. All around you sit giant rocks, each leaving a lonely trail across the cracked earth. It looks as though invisible hands quietly pushed them through the night. Even knowing the scientific explanation, the sight remains almost impossible to believe. Sometimes, the greatest mysteries are not created by myths or legends. Sometimes, they are created by nature itself, working so slowly, so quietly, and so rarely that for generations, no human ever witnessed the moment the impossible became real. Imagine lying awake every night because of a low, constant humming sound that no one else seems to hear. You search your home, switch off every electrical device, drive miles away from town, but the sound follows you. Doctors find nothing wrong. Engineers detect no clear source. Neighbors either hear it too, or insist there is complete silence. For decades, this unexplained noise has haunted a small town in New Mexico. It is known simply as the Taos hum. Nestled beneath the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in New Mexico, USA, the quiet town of Taos is famous for its art, history, and beautiful desert landscapes. It seems like the last place where a mystery would unfold. But beginning in the early 1990s, something strange started happening. A number of residents began reporting a faint, low-frequency humming sound. It wasn't loud. It wasn't sharp. It was more like the distant rumble of a truck engine that never arrived, or the deep vibration of machinery hidden somewhere far away. The strange part was that not everyone could hear it. Only a small percentage of people claimed to notice the sound. Those who did described it as impossible to ignore. Some said it was strongest late at night when everything else became quiet. Others claimed it continued day and night without stopping. Many compared it to standing near a diesel engine that never switched off. For some people, the hum was only an annoyance. For others, it became life-changing. Residents reported sleepless nights, headaches, anxiety, difficulty concentrating, and constant frustration. Some even moved away from Taos, hoping the sound would disappear. But in a few cases, they claimed it followed them. As complaints increased, local officials decided the mystery deserved serious investigation. In 1993, a team of scientists and engineers was brought together to study the phenomenon. Experts from Los Alamos National Laboratory, the University of New Mexico, and other organizations arrived with sophisticated equipment. They installed highly sensitive microphones. They measured vibrations in the ground. They monitored electrical systems. They searched for hidden industrial machinery. If a physical sound existed, they intended to find it. Weeks of testing followed. The results surprised everyone. Although researchers detected ordinary environmental noises, they found no single sound that could explain what residents described. There was no giant underground machine. No secret military equipment. No hidden factory operating beneath the town. The investigation ended without identifying a definite source. The mystery remained unsolved. As news spread, similar reports began appearing around the world. People in parts of Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and several European countries described hearing nearly identical low-frequency humming sounds. Each location gave the phenomenon a local name. But the experience was remarkably similar. Only certain people could hear it. The sound often became stronger at night. And no clear source could be found. Scientists proposed several explanations. One possibility involved low-frequency environmental noise. Factories, power stations, ventilation systems, distant highways, and industrial equipment can all produce sounds below or near the limits of human hearing. Under the right weather conditions, these low-frequency sounds may travel surprisingly long distances. Perhaps some people are simply more sensitive to them than others. This theory explains some cases. But it does not explain why the hum has been reported in remote areas with no nearby industry. Another theory focused on hearing itself. Doctors noted that some people experience tinnitus, a condition in which individuals hear sounds such as ringing, buzzing, or humming without any external source. Unlike the high-pitched ringing commonly associated with tinnitus, certain forms produce deep vibrating tones. However, many people who reported the Taos hum passed hearing examinations and insisted the sound behaved differently from tinnitus. Some claimed they could hear it only in specific locations. Others said family members standing beside them heard nothing at all. Researchers also considered psychological factors. Once news about the hum became widespread, awareness increased dramatically. Scientists suggested that expectation and attention might make ordinary background sounds seem far more noticeable. This does not mean the experiences were imaginary. Rather, the human brain constantly filters countless sounds. Focusing attention on a faint vibration can make it seem much louder than before. Even so, this explanation failed to satisfy many residents who had reported the hum long before it became famous. More unusual theories soon appeared. Some people believed secret military communication systems were responsible. Others blamed underground drilling, hidden electrical installations, or unknown atmospheric phenomena. A few even suggested extraterrestrial technology. None of these ideas has been supported by scientific evidence. Perhaps the most frustrating part of the mystery is its inconsistency. Some people hear the hum for years. Then it suddenly disappears. Others hear it only during certain seasons. Many lifelong residents of Taos have never heard anything unusual at all. Even within the same household, one person may hear the mysterious vibration while everyone else experiences complete silence. Modern technology has improved considerably since the original investigations. Sensitive recording equipment can now detect sounds far below the range of normal human hearing. Yet despite decades of research, scientists still have not identified a single universal explanation for all reports of the hum. Most experts believe multiple causes are probably involved. In some places, the sound may come from distant industrial activity. Elsewhere, it could be related to natural environmental vibrations, individual hearing sensitivity, or medical conditions. Rather than one mystery, there may actually be several different phenomena producing similar experiences. Today, the Taos hum remains one of the world's most unusual unexplained mysteries. It is not dramatic. There are no flashing lights. No disappearing objects. No ancient ruins. Just a quiet sound. Heard by some. Completely absent for others. Perhaps that is what makes it so unsettling. A mystery does not always have to be loud. Sometimes it is almost silent. Late at night, when the streets of Taos grow still and the desert wind finally calms, some residents say they can still hear it. A deep vibration. A distant hum. Steady. Endless. Impossible to locate. Whether it comes from nature, technology, the human mind, or something not yet understood. One question continues to echo through the quiet town. What is making that sound? No one knows for certain. And until someone finally finds the source, the Taos hum will remain one of Earth's most haunting impossible mysteries. Across the deserts of southern Africa, millions of perfectly round circles stretch toward the horizon. They appear suddenly, remain unchanged for decades, and then slowly disappear, only for new ones to form nearby. There are no fences, no buildings, and no human hands shaping the land. From the ground they look strange. From the sky they look almost impossible. Even after decades of research, scientists continue debating one simple question. Why do these mysterious circles exist? Deep within the Namib Desert, one of the oldest and driest deserts on Earth, lies a phenomenon that has fascinated scientists for generations. Scattered across the dry grasslands of Namibia, and in parts of Western Australia, are millions of nearly perfect circles. Each circle is surrounded by healthy grass. Inside the circle, there is almost nothing. Only bare, reddish soil. Some circles measure just 2 meters across. Others reach nearly 15 meters in diameter. Together, they form an endless pattern stretching for hundreds of kilometers across the desert. Seen from an airplane or satellite, the landscape looks as though someone carefully stamped millions of giant circles into the earth. Yet no one did. The circles appear naturally. For centuries, the local Himba people created stories to explain them. Some believed the circles marked the footsteps of ancient gods. Others said they were left behind by dragons that once lived beneath the desert. According to another legend, invisible spirits rose from the ground at night, leaving perfect circles wherever they emerged. These stories passed from one generation to the next. Then modern science arrived. When researchers first began studying the fairy circles, they quickly noticed something unusual. The circles were not random. They rarely overlapped. Instead, they were spaced at surprisingly regular distances from one another, almost like bubbles packed together. This orderly pattern suggested that some hidden process was controlling where each circle formed. The obvious question followed. What was creating them? One of the earliest scientific theories blamed termites. Researchers discovered that certain species of sand termites lived beneath many of the circles. These insects feed on plant roots. Some scientists suggested that termites destroyed the vegetation inside each circle, leaving only bare ground behind. Without plants using the water, moisture remained trapped beneath the soil, allowing the termite colonies to survive during long droughts. It seemed like a convincing explanation. The insects were there. The damaged roots supported the idea. But not everyone agreed. Other scientists visited hundreds of fairy circles and found many that contained no termites at all. In some regions, the insects were completely absent. If termites created every circle, why were so many circles missing termites? The debate continued. Another group of researchers proposed an entirely different explanation. They argued that the circles were created by the plants themselves. In deserts, water is incredibly limited. Plants compete intensely for every drop of moisture. According to this theory, grasses growing close together naturally organize themselves. The strongest plants pull water toward their roots, leaving nearby areas too dry for new grass to survive. Over time, this competition creates empty circular spaces surrounded by healthy vegetation. Computer models showed that simple competition for water could indeed produce patterns remarkably similar to the fairy circles. The idea gained strong support. Still, questions remained. If plant competition alone created the circles, why did some circles contain termite colonies? Perhaps both explanations were partly correct. Researchers began considering a combination of factors. Maybe termites altered the soil while plants competed for water. Together, these natural processes could create the mysterious circles observed across the desert. To investigate further, scientists turned to modern technology. Satellite imagery allowed them to monitor individual circles over many years. What they discovered was remarkable. Fairy circles were alive, not in the biological sense, but as changing features of the landscape. New circles appeared. Old circles slowly faded away. Some survived only a few years. Others remained visible for more than 70 years before disappearing. The desert itself seemed to be constantly rearranging the pattern. Researchers also measured moisture levels beneath the circles. Surprisingly, the bare centers often contained more underground water than the surrounding grass. Without plants absorbing moisture, rainwater remained trapped below the surface. This finding supported both major theories. Extra water could help termite colonies survive. It could also benefit the grasses growing around the edges. Nature appeared to be balancing itself in an extraordinary way. Then came another surprise. For decades, scientists believed fairy circles existed only in Namibia. But in 2014, researchers reported discovering strikingly similar formations in remote regions of Western Australia. The Australian circles closely resembled those found in Africa. Once again, scientists debated the cause. Termites were present. Water competition also appeared important. The mystery had suddenly become global. Could two completely different deserts be producing the same natural phenomenon through similar ecological processes? Or had researchers uncovered one of nature's universal design principles? Even today, no single explanation satisfies every observation. Many scientists now believe that fairy circles result from several natural processes working together. Termites. Plant competition. Soil conditions. Rainfall. Climate. Each may play a role. Exactly how these factors interact remains an active area of research. Standing among the circles is an unforgettable experience. The desert stretches endlessly beneath a brilliant blue sky. Everywhere you look, perfect circles interrupt the grasslands. There is no obvious reason why one patch of ground supports life while the next remains completely bare. The silence makes the mystery even more powerful. No machines. No roads. No human construction. Just millions of mysterious circles quietly covering one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. The fairy circles remind us that nature often creates patterns more beautiful, and more mysterious, than anything humans could design. Sometimes, the greatest puzzles are not hidden beneath the ocean or buried inside ancient ruins. Sometimes, they are spread across an entire desert. Visible from space. Waiting for science to uncover every piece of the story. Until then, the circles remain. Perfect. Silent. Endless. One of Earth's most beautiful impossible mysteries. Imagine standing in the coldest place on Earth and seeing what looks like blood pouring from the side of a glacier. Against the endless white ice, a deep red waterfall flows slowly onto the frozen ground. At first glance, it seems impossible. Is it caused by strange microbes, hidden minerals, or something trapped beneath the ice for millions of years? More than a century after its discovery, Blood Falls continues to amaze scientists and visitors alike. At the southernmost edge of our planet lies Antarctica, a continent unlike any other. It is the coldest, driest, and windiest place on Earth. Nearly 98% of the continent is covered by thick ice, some of it more than 4 kilometers deep. From above, Antarctica appears lifeless, a vast landscape of white stretching beyond the horizon. But hidden beneath this frozen world are lakes, rivers, and ancient ecosystems that have remained isolated for millions of years. One of the most extraordinary discoveries in this icy wilderness is a place known as Blood Falls. The name alone sounds like something from a horror story. Along the edge of the Taylor Glacier in East Antarctica, a stream of dark red water slowly flows out of the ice. The crimson liquid stains the snow and rocks below, creating a shocking contrast against the brilliant white glacier. From a distance, it looks as though the glacier itself is bleeding. When early explorers first saw the strange waterfall in 1911, they struggled to explain it. The discovery was made by Australian geologist Thomas Griffith Taylor, who was exploring Antarctica during one of the Heroic Age expeditions. At first, Taylor believed the red color came from microscopic red algae living inside the ice. The explanation seemed reasonable. In many parts of the world, algae can tint snow and ice green, red, or even pink. For years, this idea remained widely accepted. But as scientific techniques improved, researchers discovered something unexpected. There were no algae causing the mysterious color. The real explanation was even more fascinating. Scientists analyzed samples of the flowing water and found that it contained an extremely high concentration of iron. Deep beneath the glacier lies a hidden lake filled with ancient saltwater. This underground reservoir has been sealed beneath hundreds of meters of ice for roughly 1 to 2 million years. Because the water is extremely salty, it remains liquid even in Antarctica's freezing temperatures. The lake contains almost no oxygen. Over millions of years, iron dissolved into the trapped water. When the water slowly escapes through cracks in the glacier and reaches the surface, it comes into contact with oxygen in the air. A chemical reaction immediately begins. The dissolved iron starts to rust. Just like a piece of iron left outside slowly turns reddish-brown, the water becomes deep crimson as the iron oxidizes. That rusty color creates the illusion of blood flowing from the glacier. For many scientists, this solved the mystery. But Blood Falls still had more secrets to reveal. Researchers wondered how liquid water could continue flowing beneath such an enormous mass of ice. The answer involved an incredible hidden network. Using radar and advanced imaging technology, scientists discovered that the glacier contains tiny channels carrying salty water from the underground lake toward the surface. The brine moves slowly through these narrow passages, eventually emerging at Blood Falls. The process is remarkably slow. Sometimes the flow almost stops completely. At other times, more water appears. The hidden plumbing system beneath the glacier continues changing over time. Then came another astonishing discovery. When scientists examined the trapped water more closely, they found living microorganisms. These tiny microbes had survived in complete darkness beneath the ice for more than 1 million years. There was no sunlight. Almost no oxygen. Extremely cold temperatures. Yet life had found a way. Instead of using sunlight like plants, these microorganisms survive through chemical reactions involving iron and sulfur. They obtain energy by processing minerals dissolved in the ancient saltwater. This discovery excited scientists around the world. If life can survive beneath Antarctica's thick ice under such extreme conditions, could similar life exist elsewhere in our solar system? Moons such as Europa, orbiting Jupiter, and Enceladus, orbiting Saturn, are believed to contain oceans hidden beneath thick layers of ice. Some astrobiologists now study Blood Falls as a natural laboratory. Understanding how microbes survive beneath Antarctica may help scientists search for life beyond Earth. Blood Falls is no longer just a geological curiosity. It has become one of the most important locations for studying extreme environments. Despite the progress made by science, many questions remain. How exactly did the underground lake become trapped beneath the glacier? How long have the microorganisms been evolving in complete isolation? Could other hidden lakes beneath Antarctica contain entirely different ecosystems? Researchers estimate that Antarctica may hide hundreds of subglacial lakes, many of which have never been explored. Each could contain new forms of microbial life and valuable clues about Earth's ancient past. Exploring these hidden worlds is extremely difficult. Scientists must avoid contaminating the untouched environments with modern bacteria. Special sterile drilling equipment is required before samples can be collected safely. As a result, much of Antarctica's hidden underground world remains unexplored. Today, Blood Falls continues flowing slowly from the Taylor Glacier. Its crimson stream appears almost unreal against the endless white landscape. Visitors often describe the first sight as unforgettable. It looks like a wound in the ice. A glacier bleeding into the frozen desert. Yet the true story is even more extraordinary than the illusion. The red waterfall is the result of ancient chemistry. Hidden lakes, underground rivers, and microorganisms that have survived beneath the ice for over 1 million years. Blood Falls reminds us that some of Earth's greatest mysteries are not supernatural. They are scientific wonders waiting patiently to be understood. And if life can survive in one of the harshest environments on our planet, perhaps it can survive in places we have not yet explored. Far beneath the frozen surface, where sunlight has never reached, an ancient world continues to exist. A world sealed away for millions of years. A world that still has many secrets to reveal. Because sometimes, the most incredible mysteries are not found in space. They are waiting quietly, beneath our own feet. In western Poland, Hundreds of pine trees rise from the ground in one of the strangest ways ever seen in nature. Instead of growing straight toward the sky, each tree bends sharply near its base, forming a graceful curve before continuing upward. Every tree bends in almost the same direction. No one planted them this way. No one recorded why they were shaped like this. Nearly a century later, the crooked forest remains one of Europe's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. Hidden near the small village of now Zarnowo, in western Poland, stands a forest unlike any other on Earth. At first glance, everything seems perfectly normal. Tall pine trees stretch toward the sky. Birds sing in the branches. The wind moves gently through the forest. But as visitors walk deeper into the woods, they begin noticing something impossible. Every few steps, another tree bends. Then another. Then another. Around 400 pine trees grow with the same unusual shape. Each trunk curves dramatically near the ground before rising straight upward. The bend resembles the letter J or a giant fishing hook. Most of the curves point toward the north. After the bend, the trunks continue growing vertically as though nothing unusual had happened. The trees appear healthy. They are not dying. They are not twisted throughout their entire length. Only the lower section curves. Then everything returns to normal. The mysterious grove has become known simply as the Crooked Forest. The trees are believed to have been planted around 1930. At the time, the region was part of Germany, before borders changed after the Second World War. This detail would later become important because many historical records from that period were lost during the war. As a result, no written explanation has ever been found describing why these trees were planted, or why they grew in such a remarkable way. When researchers first studied the forest, one obvious question came to mind. Could this simply be a rare genetic mutation? Perhaps these particular pine trees naturally developed curved trunks. But this idea quickly encountered problems. Only one small group of trees displayed the unusual shape. The surrounding forest, planted at roughly the same time, grew perfectly straight. If genetics were responsible, scientists would expect to find similar trees throughout the region. They did not. Another theory suggested that heavy snow may have bent the young trees while they were still flexible. In harsh winters, snow and ice can sometimes deform growing trunks. However, snow usually bends trees in random directions. The crooked forest is different. Almost every tree bends in nearly the same direction and at almost exactly the same height above the ground. Nature rarely produces such remarkable consistency by accident. Strong winds were also considered. Perhaps powerful storms repeatedly pushed the young trees over before they matured. Again, researchers found problems. Wind damage usually affects entire forests. Nearby trees should display similar shapes. Instead, only the famous grove contains the strange curves. The mystery remained. Then many historians proposed perhaps the most popular explanation. They believed the trees were bent intentionally by humans. According to this theory, when the pines were only a few years old, local farmers or foresters carefully forced each trunk sideways using wooden frames, stakes, ropes, or weighted boards. As the trees continued growing, the curved section became permanent. Later, once the desired shape had formed, the supports were removed, allowing the trunks to grow upward naturally. But why would anyone do that? Several practical explanations have been suggested. One possibility involves shipbuilding. Naturally curved wood is extremely valuable for constructing the frames of wooden ships because curved beams are often stronger than pieces cut from straight timber. Others believe the wood may have been intended for making furniture. Curved tree trunks could provide ideal material for chairs, sleds, wagon parts, barrels, or specialized tools. In the early 20th century, naturally shaped timber was often more valuable than artificially bent wood. The theory makes sense. Yet there is one major problem. No historical documents confirm it. No photographs show workers bending the trees. No surviving tools have been discovered. No local records describe such an operation. Then history intervened. Only a few years after the trees were planted, Europe was engulfed by the Second World War. Communities were displaced. Forests changed ownership. Many records disappeared forever. If local craftsmen truly intended to harvest the unusual timber, the war may have interrupted their plans before the trees reached maturity. The curved pines were never cut down. Instead, they continued growing quietly for decades. This explanation fits the timeline remarkably well. But once again, there is no direct proof. Another interesting clue lies in the age of the bends. Researchers estimate the trees were probably bent when they were between 7 and 10 years old. At that stage, pine trunks remain flexible enough to reshape without breaking. Afterward, the wood hardens into its final form. This observation supports the human modification theory. Still, without historical evidence, certainty remains impossible. Today, the Crooked Forest attracts visitors from around the world. Photographers arrive early in the morning when sunlight filters through the trees. Walking among them feels strangely surreal. Every trunk begins normally, then suddenly curves sideways, then rises straight into the sky. Standing inside the grove creates an almost dreamlike experience. It looks less like a natural forest, and more like an outdoor sculpture created by someone with extraordinary patience. Scientists continue studying the trees. The pines remain healthy despite their unusual shape. They have survived storms, changing seasons, and nearly a century of growth. Nature adapted perfectly to whatever happened during their early years. Perhaps one day an old diary, forgotten map, or hidden archive will finally reveal why these trees were bent. Maybe they were prepared for ships that were never built. Maybe they were meant for furniture that history never allowed craftsmen to create. Or perhaps there is another explanation entirely, one still waiting to be discovered. Until then, the Crooked Forest continues standing quietly in western Poland. Hundreds of trees, all bending in silent agreement, guarding a secret nearly 100 years old. They cannot speak. They cannot tell us who shaped them. They simply continue growing, as they always have, reminding us that sometimes the greatest mysteries are rooted not in ancient legends, but in forgotten moments of human history. And perhaps that forgotten story still waits somewhere, hidden among the trees. Deep inside a quiet forest, there is a waterfall unlike any other on earth. Behind the rushing water, hidden inside a small cave, a flame burns day and night. Rain cannot extinguish it. Snow cannot freeze it. Wind cannot blow it out for long. It has become one of nature's most mysterious sights, a fire burning beneath a waterfall. But how is it possible? Tucked away inside Chestnut Ridge Park in western New York, USA, lies one of Earth's most unusual natural wonders. Known as Eternal Flame Falls, it attracts thousands of hikers every year. The trail leading to the waterfall is peaceful. Tall trees line the path. Birds sing overhead. A small stream winds through the forest. Nothing suggests that something extraordinary is waiting just ahead. Then, the sound of rushing water begins to grow louder. The stream suddenly drops over a rocky cliff, creating a beautiful waterfall about 30 feet, or 9 meters, high. Most visitors stop to admire the falling water. But those who step carefully behind the waterfall notice something incredible. Inside a small crack in the rock, a tiny orange flame flickers. It burns quietly behind the curtain of water. The flame seems impossible. Water and fire are natural opposites. One should extinguish the other. Yet here they exist side by side. The fire has earned the site its famous name. The Eternal Flame Falls. For many years, local people created stories to explain the mysterious flame. Some believed it possessed spiritual powers. Others claimed the fire had burned for thousands of years without ever going out. A few legends even suggested the flame was supernatural, a gift from ancient spirits protecting the forest. Visitors were fascinated. Photographs spread across newspapers, travel magazines, and eventually the internet. Many people wondered if the flame truly had been burning forever. The answer, however, is slightly different. Although the flame appears eternal, it does occasionally go out. Strong winds, heavy rain, or a lack of gas can extinguish it. When that happens, hikers or park staff often relight it using a lighter or match. Even so, the natural gas feeding the flame continues escaping from the rock. As long as the gas is present, the fire can burn again. This raised an obvious scientific question. Where was the gas coming from? Researchers began studying the rocks surrounding the waterfall. They discovered that tiny amounts of natural gas, primarily methane, seep continuously through cracks in the shale beneath the falls. When the gas reaches the surface and encounters an open flame, it ignites. The result is the famous burning fire hidden behind the waterfall. At first glance, this explanation seems simple. Natural gas seeps exist in several places around the world. But eternal flame falls presented another mystery. Most natural gas seeps are connected to extremely old rock formations buried deep underground, where heat and pressure slowly transform ancient organic material into gas over millions of years. The shale beneath eternal flame falls, however, appeared different. Scientists expected the rocks to produce far less gas than they actually did. In 2013, researchers published a study suggesting something unusual was happening beneath the park. The methane seemed to be forming through geological processes that scientists did not fully understand. Instead of requiring extremely high temperatures, the gas might be generated at much lower temperatures than previously believed. If true, this discovery could change how scientists understand natural gas formation in certain rock layers. The little flame was no longer just a tourist attraction. It had become a scientific puzzle. Further studies revealed that tiny fractures in the rock allow methane to escape continuously. Although the amount is relatively small, it is enough to support the small flame whenever it is lit. The gas flows so steadily that visitors often smell it before seeing the fire. The waterfall itself adds another layer of mystery. Water constantly crashes only a short distance from the flame. Spray fills the air. Humidity remains high. Yet the fire continues burning inside its sheltered niche. The rocky overhang protects it from direct contact with most of the falling water, creating a surprisingly stable environment. Even so, the flame remains delicate. Sometimes it burns brightly. Sometimes it shrinks to only a tiny flicker. Occasionally it disappears completely until someone relights it. Scientists continue monitoring the site because it offers a rare opportunity to study natural methane seepage in real time. The surrounding geology may help researchers better understand underground energy systems and ancient rock formations across North America. Still, questions remain. Why does this particular location produce such a consistent gas flow? How long has methane been escaping from beneath the waterfall? Could similar hidden gas seeps exist beneath other waterfalls around the world? No one knows. Visitors often arrive expecting nothing more than a beautiful hike. Instead, they find one of nature's strangest combinations. A roaring waterfall. Cool mist filling the air. And behind the rushing water, a quiet flame dancing in complete silence. It feels almost magical. Yet the true story is perhaps even more remarkable. Nature has brought together two forces that normally destroy one another: fire and water. Instead of fighting, they exist together in perfect balance. The eternal flame falls reminds us that Earth still holds countless surprises. Sometimes, the impossible is not hidden in distant galaxies or forgotten civilizations. Sometimes, it burns quietly behind a waterfall, waiting for curious travelers to discover it. A tiny flame, hidden in stone, fed by the earth itself, glowing through rain, through snow, through changing seasons. A simple fire that continues asking one unforgettable question. How many more secrets is our planet still hiding beneath its surface? Deep within one of the most remote forests on Earth stands a mysterious stone cone unlike anything scientists have ever seen. It looks like the impact site of a giant meteor, yet no meteor has ever been found. It resembles a volcanic crater, but there are no volcanoes nearby. Hidden in the wilderness of Siberia, this strange formation has challenged researchers for decades. Even today, no one can say with complete certainty how it was created. Far from cities, roads, and modern civilization, the vast wilderness of eastern Siberia, Russia, stretches for thousands of kilometers. This is one of the most isolated places on Earth. Dense forests cover the landscape. Winters are brutally cold. Some areas remain almost untouched by humans. It is here, deep within the Irkutsk region, that one of Earth's strangest geological mysteries quietly rises above the trees. Locals call it Potomsky Crater. Others know it as the Fire Eagle Nest. Unlike an ordinary crater, Potomsky does not form a simple hole in the ground. Instead, it resembles a giant cone made of broken limestone. The structure rises nearly 40 meters, or about 130 feet, above the surrounding forest and measures roughly 160 meters across. At its center stands a second rocky mound, making the formation appear almost like a volcano growing inside another volcano. From above, the shape looks unnatural, almost artificial, as if something enormous forced its way upward from beneath the earth. Yet no one knows exactly what happened here. The mystery remained hidden from the outside world until 1949, when Russian geologist Vadim Kolpakov discovered the formation during an expedition through the Siberian wilderness. Even for an experienced geologist, the sight was astonishing. Kolpakov had never seen anything like it. His discovery immediately sparked scientific curiosity. What could have created such a strange structure? The most obvious explanation seemed to be a meteorite impact. After all, giant space rocks have struck Earth throughout history, leaving enormous craters behind. Perhaps Potomsky was simply another impact site. Scientists began searching for evidence. If a meteor had crashed into the ground, they expected to find fragments of iron or stone buried beneath the crater. They also searched for minerals altered by the tremendous heat and pressure produced during an impact. But despite careful investigations, nothing was found. No meteorite. No impact debris. No signs of the intense shock waves normally associated with cosmic collisions. The meteor theory quickly lost support. Researchers then turned to another possibility. Could Potomsky actually be an extinct volcano? Its cone-shaped appearance certainly resembled volcanic formations. But geological maps revealed another problem. There are no active or ancient volcanoes anywhere near the site. The surrounding region simply does not support volcanic activity. Again, scientists were left without answers. Another theory suggested that underground gas pressure caused the formation. Perhaps natural gases trapped beneath the surface suddenly erupted upward, pushing rocks into a cone-shaped mound. Events similar to this have occurred in Arctic regions where frozen ground traps methane beneath layers of soil. Yet Potomsky's rocky structure appeared far more solid and ancient than modern gas explosions. Once again, the evidence remained incomplete. In the early 2000s, Russian scientists launched several new expeditions. Using drilling equipment and advanced geological surveys, they hoped to uncover the crater's hidden history. One team collected samples from trees growing on and around the formation. Tree rings often preserve valuable records of environmental changes. What they discovered was unexpected. The oldest trees growing directly on the crater appeared to be only about 150 to 250 years old. This suggested that the structure itself might be surprisingly young in geological terms. If correct, Potomsky may have formed only a few centuries ago. But what happened during that time? No historical records describe a giant explosion. No local legends mention a dramatic event capable of creating such a massive structure. It was as though the crater appeared silently, deep inside a forest where almost no one lived. Scientists also noticed unusual patterns in the tree rings. Some trees displayed periods of unusually rapid growth followed by sudden stress. Researchers debated whether these changes reflected environmental disturbances connected to the crater's formation. Others argued the patterns could simply result from changing climate conditions. The evidence remained inconclusive. Then another idea emerged. Some geologists proposed that the crater formed through a rare process called a cryogenic eruption. In regions with permanently frozen ground, pressure from underground water, gas, and expanding ice can occasionally force material upward, creating unusual landforms. Because Siberia contains vast areas of permafrost, this explanation seemed plausible. However, no known cryogenic structure matched Potomsky's exact shape. The mystery continued. Over the years, the crater also became surrounded by local legends. Some nearby residents believed the area was cursed. Hunters reportedly avoided the site, claiming animals behaved strangely nearby. Stories spread of unusual feelings experienced by visitors. A few tales even linked the crater to the famous Tunguska event of 1908, the enormous explosion that flattened millions of trees hundreds of kilometers away. Could the two events somehow be connected? Most scientists reject this idea. The crater appears older than the Tunguska explosion and lies far outside the affected region. Still, the coincidence has fueled public imagination. Today, Potomsky crater remains one of Russia's least understood geological formations. Modern technology has improved our understanding of its structure, but no single explanation has gained universal acceptance. Some researchers favor underground gas activity. Others support cryogenic processes. A few continue investigating rare geological mechanisms that have not yet been fully understood. One thing is certain. Potomsky is real. It exists. It can be climbed. It can be studied. Yet it refuses to reveal exactly how it came into being. Standing on its rocky slopes is an unforgettable experience. The surrounding forest stretches endlessly in every direction. There are no cities. No roads. Only silence. In the center of that silence rises a giant stone cone that seems completely out of place. It looks like the scar left behind by an event that history somehow forgot. Perhaps future research will finally uncover the truth. Or perhaps the forces that shaped Potomsky were so rare that they may never happen again. Until then, this lonely formation will continue standing in the Siberian wilderness, challenging every scientist who visits, and reminding us that even in the 21st century, Earth still holds mysteries that refuse to surrender their secrets. Because sometimes, the greatest puzzles are not hidden beneath the oceans, or buried inside ancient ruins. They are waiting quietly, in the middle of a silent forest, where almost no one ever goes. Rising above the clouds at the meeting point of three countries is a mountain so isolated that scientists call it a lost world. Its towering cliffs rise almost perfectly vertical, making the summit nearly impossible to reach without climbing equipment. Strange plants grow nowhere else on Earth. Rare animals have evolved in complete isolation. For centuries, local tribes believed it was the home of powerful spirits. Even today, Mount Roraima remains one of the most mysterious places on our planet. Far in the northeastern corner of South America, where Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana meet, stands one of the world's most extraordinary mountains. Its name is Mount Roraima. Unlike ordinary mountains with pointed peaks, Mount Roraima has an enormous flat summit stretching nearly 31 square kilometers. Its cliffs rise almost straight upward, some reaching more than 400 meters in height. From a distance, it looks less like a mountain and more like a gigantic stone fortress rising above the clouds. The mountain belongs to a rare group of formations known as tepuis, ancient tabletop mountains found only in parts of South America. Scientists estimate that Mount Roraima is around 2 billion years old, making it one of the oldest geological formations on Earth. Long before dinosaurs walked the planet. Before flowering plants existed. Before mammals evolved. This mountain was already standing. For the Peman people, who have lived in the region for countless generations, Mount Roraima is far more than a geological wonder. According to their traditions, it is connected to the Tree of Life, a sacred tree that once contained every fruit and plant in the world. Legend says that after the tree was cut down, it fell to the earth, leaving behind the massive flat-topped mountain that people see today. These stories have been passed down for centuries. Whether taken as history or mythology, they reveal how deeply the mountain has shaped local culture. For European explorers, however, Mount Roraima remained almost unreachable. Its steep cliffs formed natural walls that seemed impossible to climb. Early expeditions could only circle the base, staring upward at the mysterious summit hidden by clouds. Many wondered what might exist above. Some imagined untouched forests. Others believed strange creatures could be living there. The mountain became known as a lost world. In 1884, British explorers Sir Everard M. Thurn and Harry Perkins finally succeeded in reaching the summit. Instead of climbing the vertical cliffs directly, they discovered a natural rocky slope that provided access from one side. What they found exceeded every expectation. The summit looked like another planet. Dark stone stretched across the landscape. Shallow pools reflected the sky. Unusual rock formations, shaped by millions of years of rain and wind, resembled giant sculptures. Mist drifted constantly across the plateau. Plants unlike those found below covered the ground. Scientists soon realized something remarkable. Because the summit had remained isolated for millions of years, many species had evolved independently. Some plants grow nowhere else on Earth. Certain orchids exist only on Mount Roraima. Carnivorous plants trap insects to survive in the nutrient-poor soil. Tiny black frogs spend their entire lives on the summit. Several insects, spiders, and reptiles are unique to this isolated ecosystem. The mountain functions almost like a giant natural laboratory for evolution. Its isolation allowed life to develop along its own path. The landscape itself appears almost surreal. Towering stone pillars rise from the plateau. Crystal clear streams disappear into deep cracks before emerging as spectacular waterfalls plunging over the cliffs. One of these rivers eventually contributes to Angel Falls, the tallest uninterrupted waterfall on Earth. The weather adds another layer of mystery. Rain falls frequently. Clouds drift across the summit for much of the year. Visibility can change within minutes. One moment the landscape is perfectly clear. The next, thick fog covers everything. Explorers often describe the experience as walking through another world. Mount Roraima has inspired countless stories. In 1912, British author Arthur Conan Doyle published the famous novel The Lost World. Although the story is fictional, many historians believe Mount Roraima helped inspire its setting, a remote plateau where prehistoric creatures survived beyond the reach of civilization. The idea captured imaginations around the globe. Even today, many visitors describe the summit as one of the most alien landscapes on Earth. But the mysteries of Mount Roraima are not limited to its appearance. Scientists continue studying how such an ancient landscape has survived for billions of years. The sandstone forming the mountain is incredibly old. Yet wind and rain continue slowly reshaping it. Massive cracks divide sections of the plateau. Strange natural pools collect rainwater. Some rock formations resemble animals, castles, or enormous mushrooms. Again, nature creates shapes that appear almost designed. Researchers are also fascinated by the mountain's climate. The summit receives frequent rainfall, but the thin soil supports surprisingly specialized ecosystems. Plants have adapted to capture nutrients in unusual ways. Some obtain minerals directly from insects. Others absorb nutrients from rainwater flowing across the rocks. Every expedition discovers something new. New insect species. Previously unknown microorganisms. Rare plants. The mountain still holds scientific secrets. Of course, extraordinary theories also surround Mount Roraima. Some visitors claim strange lights appear above the plateau. Others speak of unexplained disappearances or hidden cave systems beneath the summit. A few even suggest the mountain is connected to ancient lost civilizations. Despite these stories, there is no scientific evidence supporting supernatural or extraterrestrial explanations. The real wonder lies in the mountain itself. Its age. Its isolation. Its unique ecosystem. Its breathtaking geology. Today, Mount Roraima attracts adventurers, scientists, photographers, and hikers from around the world. Reaching the summit requires several days of trekking through rainforests, rivers, and steep mountain trails. The journey is difficult. But those who stand on top often describe it as unforgettable. Above the clouds. Surrounded by endless cliffs. It feels as though the modern world has disappeared. Standing there, it becomes easy to understand why generations believed this place belonged to another realm. A mountain untouched by time. A landscape older than almost anything else on Earth. A place where evolution followed its own path in complete isolation. Mount Roraima reminds us that some mysteries are not hidden because they are impossible to find. They are hidden because nature spent billions of years protecting them. And even now, high above the forests of South America, the ancient stone plateau continues watching over the world below, keeping many of its oldest secrets safely above the clouds. In 1932, two prospectors searching for gold blasted open a solid rock formation in the mountains of Wyoming. Inside, they expected to find valuable minerals. Instead, they discovered something no one could explain: a tiny mummified figure sitting cross-legged inside a hidden chamber. It looked astonishingly human, but it was only about 17 centimeters, or 7 inches, tall. Was it a forgotten species, an infant with a rare medical condition, or simply an elaborate hoax? Nearly a century later, the mystery continues to divide experts. High in the rugged wilderness of Wyoming, United States, the San Pedro Mountains have long been known for their hidden caves, abandoned mines, and stories of lost treasure. In the summer of 1932, two gold prospectors, Cecil Main and Frank Carr, were exploring the mountains in search of valuable ore. Like many prospectors of the time, they often used small charges of dynamite to break apart solid rock and expose mineral veins hidden inside. On one particular day, after setting off an explosion, something unexpected happened. Instead of revealing gold, the blast opened a small sealed chamber deep inside the rock. Curious, the men climbed inside. The chamber was tiny, barely large enough for a person to crouch. What they found stopped them in their tracks. Resting on a natural stone ledge was a perfectly preserved mummified figure. It appeared to be sitting upright with its legs crossed. Its arms rested naturally against its body. The head was slightly tilted downward, giving the impression that it had been quietly watching over the chamber for centuries. The figure looked remarkably human. But it measured only about 17 centimeters, or 7 inches, from head to toe. Its skin was dark and leathery from the mummification process. Its tiny facial features were clearly visible. Even its fingernails appeared intact. The discovery quickly became local news. Soon, newspapers across the United States were reporting the story. Photographs of the mysterious mummy were published, astonishing readers. Some believed the figure proved that an unknown race of miniature humans had once lived in North America. Others immediately dismissed the idea as impossible. The tiny mummy became known simply as the San Pedro Mountain Mummy. As interest grew, the specimen was examined by several doctors and researchers. Early observations produced conflicting conclusions. Some experts believed the mummy belonged to an adult because its teeth appeared fully developed and its body seemed proportioned like a mature human. Others strongly disagreed. They argued that the figure was actually an infant born with severe congenital abnormalities. One proposed condition was anencephaly, a rare developmental disorder in which parts of the brain and skull do not form normally before birth. Infants with this condition usually die shortly after birth. Because the skull develops differently, the face can appear unusually adult-like. This explanation seemed medically possible. However, not everyone accepted it. Supporters of the mystery pointed to several unusual features. The body appeared surprisingly muscular for such a small size. Some claimed the bones looked fully developed rather than those of a newborn. Others believed the teeth showed signs of wear that would only occur after years of use. These claims fueled endless debate. As the story spread, it became connected to Native American folklore. Certain indigenous traditions from the Rocky Mountain region describe legendary, little people. These beings were said to be small in stature, skilled hunters, and sometimes possessed supernatural abilities. Importantly, these are traditional cultural stories, not historical evidence. Nevertheless, many people wondered whether the mysterious mummy might somehow relate to those ancient legends. No evidence has ever confirmed such a connection. The mystery continued. In the decades that followed, the mummy passed through several private owners. It was displayed at exhibitions and examined repeatedly. Unfortunately, modern scientific standards were not always followed. Detailed records were incomplete. Important documentation disappeared. Then, sometime during the mid-20th century, the original mummy itself vanished. Its current location remains unknown. Without the specimen, modern researchers cannot perform DNA analysis, high-resolution CT scans, or other advanced tests that might finally answer the mystery. Much of today's discussion relies on old photographs, newspaper reports, and examination notes recorded decades ago. In the early 2000s, scientists revisited the surviving X-ray images and medical descriptions. Several experts concluded that the mummy most likely represented a human infant with severe congenital abnormalities rather than a miniature adult. The proportions of the skull, spine, and limbs appeared consistent with known medical conditions. This explanation is considered the most widely accepted by modern researchers. However, absolute certainty remains impossible. Without access to the original specimen, no final conclusion can be reached. No DNA can be tested. No new scans can be performed. No additional evidence can be collected. The mystery remains suspended between history and speculation. Today, the story of the San Pedro Mountain Mummy continues to fascinate historians, archaeologists, and mystery enthusiasts alike. Not because it proves the existence of a lost race of tiny humans. It does not. There is no scientific evidence supporting that extraordinary claim. Instead, the fascination comes from everything that has been lost. A remarkable discovery. Incomplete records. Missing evidence. A vanished specimen. Had the mummy been preserved under modern scientific standards, many questions might already have been answered. Instead, researchers are left studying faded photographs and century-old reports. The San Pedro Mountain Mummy reminds us that sometimes mysteries survive not because the truth is impossible to discover, but because crucial evidence disappears before science has the chance to examine it properly. Perhaps one day the original mummy will be found in a forgotten private collection or museum storage room. Perhaps advanced technology will finally reveal exactly who, or what, it was. Until then, the tiny figure discovered inside a hidden mountain chamber in 1932 remains one of America's most intriguing archaeological mysteries. A silent witness from the past. Only 7 inches tall. Still guarding a secret that no one has been able to fully unlock. More than 800 years ago, 2 mysterious children appeared in a quiet English village. Their skin was green. They spoke a language no one recognized. They refused to eat ordinary food, surviving only on raw beans for days. No one knew where they came from. Their strange story has survived for centuries, becoming one of history's most enduring mysteries. But what really happened in the village of Woolpit? In the peaceful countryside of Suffolk, England, lies the small village of Woolpit. Today, it is a quiet rural community surrounded by fields and farms. But during the 12th century, something happened there that people still discuss more than 800 years later. According to medieval records, villagers made an astonishing discovery. Near a series of deep pits used to trap wolves, known as wolf pits, from which the village got its name, they found 2 frightened children wandering alone. One was a young boy. The other was his slightly older sister. At first glance, they looked like ordinary children. But there was one shocking difference. Their skin had a strange green color. The villagers had never seen anything like it. The children appeared weak, confused, and terrified. When local people tried speaking to them, the children answered in a language that no one recognized. It sounded unlike English, French, Latin, or any other language known in the region. No one could understand a single word. The mystery deepened. The children were taken into the care of Sir Richard de Conn, a local landowner who offered them food and shelter. But another strange problem appeared. The children refused to eat bread, meat, fruit, milk. They rejected everything. Days passed. The villagers feared they would starve. Then someone brought in freshly harvested green beans. To everyone's surprise, the children rushed toward them. They eagerly opened the bean pods and ate only the beans inside. For several weeks, this was almost the only food they would accept. Gradually, as time passed, they began eating other foods as well. Something else changed too. Their unusual green skin slowly faded. Within months, they appeared to have the normal complexion of other children. Unfortunately, the young boy became seriously ill. Not long afterward, he died. The girl survived. As she grew older, she learned English and eventually explained what she remembered. Her story was unlike anything anyone expected. She claimed that she and her brother came from a mysterious place called St. Martin's Land. According to her, everything there was green. The sunlight was dim, as though the world existed in permanent twilight. Everyone living there spoke the same strange language that she and her brother had used. One day, while tending their family's animals, they heard the sound of church bells. Curious, they followed the noise. After walking through what she described as a cave or underground passage, they suddenly emerged into bright sunlight. When they looked around, they found themselves in an unfamiliar land. Before they could return home, they were discovered by the villagers of Woolpit. This extraordinary account has fascinated historians for centuries. But could it possibly be true? Modern researchers have proposed several explanations. One of the most widely accepted theories suggests that the children were ordinary human refugees. During the 12th century, political unrest and conflict affected many parts of eastern England. Some historians believe the children may have belonged to a community of Flemish immigrants. Many Flemish settlers spoke a language unfamiliar to English villagers. If the children's parents had died during violence or disease, they could have wandered into Woolpit alone. Their strange language would suddenly make sense. But what about their green skin? Doctors believe the color may have resulted from hypochromic anemia, a condition caused by severe malnutrition and iron deficiency. Children suffering from extreme nutritional problems can sometimes develop unusually pale or slightly greenish skin tones. Once they began eating a healthier diet, their color gradually returned to normal. This explanation also fits the historical record. Still, not every detail is easily explained. Why did they eat only beans? Some researchers believe frightened children often cling to familiar foods when placed in unfamiliar surroundings. If beans had been a staple food in their homeland, they might naturally have trusted them while rejecting everything else. Others suggest the story became exaggerated over time. After all, the events were recorded decades later by medieval chroniclers William of Newburgh and Ralph of Coggeshall. Although both historians treated the account seriously, medieval writers often mixed eyewitness reports with folklore and moral lessons. Separating historical fact from literary storytelling is extremely difficult. Of course, more extraordinary theories have also appeared. Some people believe the children came from another dimension. Others suggest an underground civilization. A few even claim they were visitors from another world. However, there is no scientific or historical evidence supporting these ideas. They remain imaginative speculation. Yet the story refuses to disappear. For more than 8 centuries, the Green Children of Woolpit have remained one of England's greatest historical mysteries. Unlike many legends, this account survives in multiple independent medieval chronicles. Something unusual almost certainly happened. The challenge is discovering exactly what. Today, visitors can still walk through Woolpit. The quiet fields remain much as they have for centuries. Nothing about the peaceful village hints at the extraordinary tale connected to its past. But somewhere near those ancient wolf pits, according to history, 2 frightened children once stepped into a world they did not recognize. Whether they were lost refugees, victims of illness, or simply characters whose story grew larger with time, their mystery continues to capture imaginations around the world. Sometimes, history leaves behind questions that science can only partly answer. And sometimes, the most unforgettable mysteries begin not with monsters or lost treasures, but with 2 frightened children, standing alone, far from home, speaking words that no one could understand. In 1936, archaeologists examining an ancient clay jar near Baghdad uncovered an object that would ignite one of history's greatest technological debates. Inside the jar was a copper cylinder, and at its center stood an iron rod. To some researchers, it looked astonishingly similar to a modern battery. If that idea were true, it would mean people may have understood electrical principles nearly 2,000 years ago. But did they? Just outside modern-day Baghdad, Iraq, lies a region that was once part of one of the world's greatest civilizations, Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization. For thousands of years, powerful kingdoms rose and fell here. The Sumerians, Babylonians, Assyrians, and later the Parthians all left behind remarkable achievements in mathematics, engineering, astronomy, and writing. It was during an archaeological excavation near the ancient settlement of Kujut Rabu in 1936 that an unusual artifact came to light. At first glance, it appeared to be an ordinary clay jar. It stood about 14 centimeters, or 5.5 inches, tall. Nothing about its appearance seemed extraordinary. But when researchers looked inside, they discovered something unexpected. A thin copper cylinder had been carefully rolled and placed inside the jar. Running through the center of the cylinder was an iron rod. The opening had been sealed with a layer of bitumen, a natural asphalt commonly used in the ancient world to make containers waterproof. The arrangement looked surprisingly deliberate. Years later, Austrian archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig, who was working at the National Museum of Iraq, studied the object closely. He noticed that if the jar were filled with an acidic liquid, such as vinegar or fermented grape juice, the copper and iron could create a small electrical voltage. The concept was identical to the basic principle behind a simple electrochemical battery. His proposal immediately captured the world's imagination. Could ancient people have invented electricity? The object soon became famous as the Baghdad battery. Scientists and engineers began conducting experiments. They built exact replicas of the jar using the same materials. Then they filled the replicas with acidic solutions. To everyone's surprise, the replicas produced a small electrical current. Usually, the voltage measured between 0.5 and 1 volt. It was not enough to power machines. But it demonstrated that the design could function as a primitive battery. The experiments were real. The results were repeatable. The question was no longer whether the jar could generate electricity. The question became, was it actually intended to? Supporters of the battery theory proposed several possibilities. One idea suggested the devices may have been used for electroplating, coating metal objects with thin layers of gold or silver using electricity. If true, this would represent an astonishing technological achievement centuries before similar techniques became common. However, archaeologists encountered a major problem. No confirmed examples of ancient electroplated objects from the region have ever been discovered. Without physical evidence, the theory remained speculative. Others suggested the jars could have been used in religious ceremonies. A tiny electrical shock might have impressed worshippers, making statues or sacred objects appear to possess supernatural power. Again, this idea was intriguing. But no ancient texts mention such practices. Another possibility was medical use. Small electrical currents are used today for certain therapies. Could ancient healers have experimented with similar effects? Once more, there is no historical evidence supporting the claim. As excitement grew, many archaeologists urged caution. They pointed out that the object had never been found with wires, switches, or any other equipment needed to create a practical electrical device. Nor were multiple jars discovered connected together, which would be necessary to produce higher voltages. Perhaps the jar had an entirely different purpose. Some researchers believe it was simply a storage container for sacred scrolls or valuable documents. Others argue it may have held papyrus protected inside the copper cylinder. The iron rod could have served as structural support rather than an electrical component. Another theory suggests the object was designed to preserve religious items from moisture. The bitumen seal fits this explanation well. The truth is, no one knows. One of the greatest challenges is the lack of historical records. Ancient Mesopotamian civilizations left behind countless clay tablets describing trade, astronomy, law, mathematics, and daily life. Yet no surviving text clearly describes building electrical devices. If batteries truly existed, why is there no written explanation? Modern historians generally believe the Baghdad battery was probably not designed as an electrical device. Most consider the battery interpretation possible but unproven. The artifact may simply resemble a battery without ever functioning as one. This reminds scientists of an important lesson. An object that can perform a function is not necessarily evidence that it was intended for that purpose. Even so, the mystery remains fascinating. Experimental archaeology has shown that the design works. The ancient craftsmen who assembled the jar clearly understood how to combine different materials with remarkable precision. Whether they accidentally created an electrical cell, or deliberately engineered one, remains uncertain. Unfortunately, many original artifacts from the National Museum of Iraq faced tremendous risks during periods of conflict in the early 21st century. Some were damaged, while others disappeared. Although many priceless objects have since been recovered, the Baghdad battery continues to be studied primarily through surviving museum records, photographs, and earlier research. Today, the artifact occupies a unique place between archaeology and imagination. It has appeared in documentaries, history books, museums, and scientific debates around the world. Some present it as evidence of forgotten ancient technology. Others see it as a misunderstood storage vessel. Both sides agree on one point. It is one of the most unusual artifacts ever discovered. Standing before the small clay jar, it is easy to understand why it inspires so much curiosity. It is simple, silent, unassuming. Yet inside that ordinary-looking vessel lies a question that has challenged historians for decades. Did ancient civilizations understand electricity? Or are modern minds seeing patterns that were never intended? Perhaps future discoveries will reveal ancient writings explaining its true purpose. Perhaps another identical artifact will finally provide the missing clue. Until then, the Baghdad Battery remains one of history's most intriguing archaeological mysteries. A reminder that even the smallest object can generate the biggest questions. Hidden beneath a quiet Scottish field lies one of the world's greatest archaeological puzzles. It is not buried because it was forgotten. It was buried deliberately, to protect it. Across its massive stone surface are hundreds of mysterious symbols carved over 5,000 years ago. Spirals, rings, grooves, perfect circles connected by winding lines. No one knows exactly what they mean. Some believe it was an ancient map. Others think it marked the stars. A few even claim it was designed to communicate with worlds beyond our own. Whatever the truth may be, the Cockno stone remains one of Earth's most extraordinary unsolved mysteries. In the countryside near Clydebank, Scotland, a remarkable slab of sandstone rests quietly beneath layers of soil. It is known as the Cockno stone. Measuring approximately 13 meters long and 8 meters wide, it is one of the largest examples of prehistoric rock art ever discovered in Europe. Its surface contains more than 90 carved symbols, including concentric circles, spiral patterns, cup-shaped depressions, straight grooves, and winding channels. Many of these carvings are known as cup and ring marks, one of archaeology's oldest and most mysterious artistic traditions. The symbols were carved roughly 5,000 years ago, during the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age. This was long before written language existed in Britain. No written records explain who created the carvings. No inscriptions identify their purpose. The people responsible disappeared thousands of years before history began recording names or events. As a result, the stone has become one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. The Cockno stone first gained widespread attention in 1887, when archaeologist James Harvey carefully documented its remarkable carvings. Researchers were astonished by the complexity of the patterns. Unlike random scratches, the designs appeared deliberate and highly organized. Some circles surrounded others with remarkable precision. Long grooves connected separate carvings across the rock. Everything seemed intentional. But intentional for what purpose? That question remains unanswered. One of the earliest theories suggested the stone held religious significance. Ancient communities often carved sacred symbols into rocks as part of ceremonies connected with nature, fertility, or ancestor worship. The circular designs may have represented cycles of life, the sun, or spiritual beliefs now lost to history. Unfortunately, no direct evidence confirms this idea. Another possibility is that the carvings formed an ancient territorial marker. Perhaps different families or communities gathered around the stone to define boundaries or celebrate seasonal events. Again, the evidence remains incomplete. Then came one of the most intriguing ideas. Some researchers wondered whether the patterns represented a map. The circles and connecting lines could symbolize rivers, hills, settlements, or important landmarks. The stone may have served as a large visual guide for people living thousands of years ago. Others suggested an entirely different kind of map. Instead of showing the earth, perhaps it represented the sky. Many prehistoric monuments across Europe align with the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Could the Cockno stone record astronomical observations? Some researchers have attempted to compare its carvings with constellations visible in the ancient night sky. Although interesting similarities have been proposed, no convincing scientific proof has emerged. The mystery continued. During the 20th century, the stone attracted increasing public attention. Unfortunately, popularity created new problems. Visitors sometimes walked across the carvings. Others scratched graffiti into the ancient surface. Weather slowly eroded the soft sandstone. Archaeologists feared the priceless artwork might be permanently damaged. In 1965, an unusual decision was made. Instead of leaving the stone exposed, it was carefully covered with soil. The goal was not to hide history. It was to preserve it. By burying the Kokno stone beneath the ground, experts protected it from weather, vandalism, and accidental damage. For decades, the mysterious carvings rested quietly beneath the field. Out of sight. But not forgotten. Then, in 2015, archaeologists briefly uncovered the stone once again. Using modern techniques, including 3D laser scanning, high-resolution photography, and digital mapping, they recorded every visible carving in extraordinary detail. For the first time, researchers created a complete digital model of the monument. These advanced records now allow scientists to study the carvings without exposing the original stone to further damage. The excavation also revealed something unexpected. Researchers discovered additional markings that had been hidden beneath soil and vegetation for decades. Even after more than a century of study, the stone still had new information to offer. Of course, extraordinary claims continue to surround the Kokno stone. Some writers have described it as an ancient star map connected to extraterrestrial visitors. Others claim it marks hidden energy lines or lost civilizations. These ideas remain popular in books and documentaries. However, there is no scientific evidence supporting such conclusions. Professional archaeologists continue focusing on explanations based on prehistoric culture, ritual, landscape, and symbolic art. The truth is that we simply do not know what the carvings mean. Perhaps the symbols recorded important stories. Perhaps they marked sacred gatherings. Perhaps they represented ideas that no modern human can fully understand because the culture that created them vanished thousands of years ago. That uncertainty is precisely what makes the Kokno stone so captivating. Unlike many mysteries, it does not depend on missing evidence alone. The evidence is right there. Hundreds of carefully carved symbols survive. We can see them, measure them, photograph them, scan them in 3 dimensions. Yet their meaning remains locked inside minds that disappeared 5 millennia ago. Today, the Kokno stone rests safely beneath the Scottish soil once again. Protected from time. Protected from weather. Protected until future generations develop even better ways to study it. Perhaps one day, a new discovery elsewhere in Britain, or a forgotten archaeological site, will reveal identical symbols alongside clues explaining their purpose. Until then, the Kokno stone continues asking the same silent question it has asked for 5,000 years. Can humanity understand a message written by people whose voices have been silent for millennia? Perhaps the answer is waiting beneath another field. Inside another forgotten monument. Or buried beneath layers of history still untouched. Until that day comes, the Kokno stone remains one of Earth's greatest archaeological mysteries. Not because it is hidden, but because its meaning still is. From mysterious underwater structures and unexplained desert circles, to ancient artifacts, forgotten civilizations, impossible geological formations, and puzzles buried beneath the earth. These 20 impossible mysteries remind us of one timeless truth. The more we explore our planet, the more we realize how much remains unknown. Some mysteries have found scientific explanations. Others continue to challenge researchers across the world. And a few may remain unsolved forever. Because even in the age of satellites, artificial intelligence, and advanced science, Earth still keeps some of its greatest secrets hidden.